On this week's episode of the Autohaus podcast, you know what's funny? When we were Corolla owners, Corolla was not cool.
No, it wasn't.
People didn't get what the car was. Girls hated me like, ew, why are you driving this old car? I remember this girl I was dating at the time. She was like, when are you going to buy a new car? Mikeyee, thanks for coming on the podcast, man.
Thank you. This has been a long time coming.
What was your username on Club4ag?
Mikeyee. Not kidding.
No. I know, that's why I asked you. So I know you. I think I met you in person before I saw you on the forum. And one thing interesting about us is that we're similar age, and then we started in the Corolla community relatively at a similar time.
Yep.
Yeah.
How old were you when you got your car or got into 4AGs?
Oh, well, I had the Celica before the Corolla.
The 4GZ though.
Yeah. So, 09. I know I was on Club4ag at least in 07, but 09 is when I actually got a car, like I don't know how do you say it, like proper.
Hey, it's 4A car.
Well, so I bought that Celica stock. It had the 20R in it.
You still with the 4AGZ in there?
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, credit where credit's due. I got it. I want to say like 60% of the way there, and then Performance Options actually finished off the swap and got it running for me and dialed it in. Yeah. So like definitely credit where credit's due.
Rest in peace, Performance Options.
Cheers
to that.
Yeah, cheers to Performance Options, man. It sucks that we're losing these, specialty shops, and like I consider them like historical at this point. Like Japanese magazines came to Performance Options to. Do you remember when they were in the Japanese magazine?
They're in Japanese magazines?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I think like Historic J10 or whatever the magazine's called.
Wow.
They came to Oakland to visit and do a article on Performance Options.
Rest in peace.
Mm.
Yes. So we go way back though.
Yeah. So, what was your first experience meeting me? And then I'll tell you my first experience meeting you also.
First experience meeting you, I was driving that piece of shit that's outside, and coming to pick up a transmission to potentially swap in a W series into my car, and that's when I met you, because you listed it for sale for like $100 with the adapter plate, the BR Racing or the BR, or I forget, one of those old shops that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
that had the adapter plate for the 4A engine, and I saw your Celica and I was like, oh, this thing's it's pretty cool. And you popped the hood, I was like 4AGZ, I was like, okay, this thing's really cool. And I was like, man, this guy knows his shit. So this was like 2010 or 11 when we met.
Just that sounds about right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I threw it in my trunk, went on my merry way, gave you I think it was $100 you asked.
I'm surprised you remember the price. I remember I just didn't want it.
Yeah, it was a good price. Like, I still have that transmission in my backyard, by the way.
Oh my God. Whoever wants a W50 behind their 4A, Mikey's got it.
Hey, those are the transmissions that those dudes in the East Coast were popping wheelies with. I remember that.
I think the thing with W50, it's
steel case.
It's steel case. That's why it's so
Stronger.
strong. Yeah. The entire case is steel, but then it's heavy as shit.
I want to pop wheelies. So what are your thoughts on me? Is that the first time meeting me?
I don't remember like a first experience, right? I just remember we bought and sold parts to each other a lot through Craigslist. Cause I think this was like pre-Facebook.
Oh yeah.
So like there was no like any of this
Facebook groups.
None of it. Yeah.
No marketplace.
I probably hit you up by email or text through Craigslist, and then you never save people's numbers. So you're just like, oh
yeah,
man,
I didn't have your number saved. Shit.
It's the same guy again. But yeah, I just remember I tell people here fondly, like I think Mikeyee was like my first like Corolla friend in the community.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's how I
That's so
I started meeting you guys at first, was actually because I bought and sold off Craigslist so much.
No, I met a lot of my friends that way because the same thing, like, you know Nikki?
Yeah, yeah, Master Nikki, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
Tito
yeah.
Nikki. Yeah, I like he's probably one of my closest friends. I go hit his place and say hello to his wife and son, and it's like it's family, and it's through Craigslist because he was one of those guys that didn't post much, but and neither did us at the time either.
On what?
Club4ag.
No, I lurked. I was total lurker. Yeah, I probably had like at least two different screen names just because I used it to lurk and browse the classifieds. Yeah,
Good stuff.
yeah. So comparing and contrasting, one of the things you said was what the difference was when we first started in the Corolla community versus in 2020, where brand new people are getting into this chassis. Comparing and contrasting, what do you think is like the same, different?
I can go hours on this. Um, what I wish. Okay, maybe for me to preface that question would be, what do I wish I had then that's available today as a new Corolla owner? Back then for us was not really much. We had Club4ag technical page, which still exists, and everybody can go and check out the technical page. It's a lot of Excel sheets. And then we had the factory service manuals that you can download. And that was about it. What I wish I had today was, or is, one, YouTube. YouTube is huge.
I was gonna say if that was pre Facebook for us, that was pre YouTube for us too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, YouTube existed back then.
But it was like not the scale.
No,
Yeah,
it was like home videos,
yeah.
and
Do you remember like us trying to watch like option videos? It was like you
fucking
had to look
Kazaa,
like
LimeWire.
or like I remember like
Excuse me.
tiny pick or whatever.
Yeah,
And then it would be like it take freaking forever to load just like 10-second clip. It's way different, way different. Like you had to struggle for it if you wanted to watch that 10-second clip back then.
dude. So that the Akira Aida build, the $250,000 build,
Okay.
or the $100,000 build. I don't know.
Insane amount of money build.
The big dollar build.
Yeah.
That was available, and I remember downloading parts of it on through LimeWire or Kazaa, and that yeah, some of those like 10-minute clips took me like a couple days downloading. And this is like, I mean, I was a little kid back then, just like geeking over these cars, and I was like 12 or 13 years old. And yeah, I remember those days of like, oh, is it done yet? No, go to school, come back. Is it done yet? No.
Oh shit. That's right. That's right. You would go to school and be like, oh man, it's only at like 70%.
And then it crashes, like, fuck.
Yeah, that's right. It would like corrupt in between. Yeah.
So I wish I had so like, because now like, oh, how do I, install coilovers? Oh, we have like 20 different videos on coilover installs. How to drive stick. There's so many videos that are available now that back then it was just like, no, we had some manuals and like some people that knew how these things worked.
Or you had to have a friend and then you guys had to buy a beater car or something to learn.
Yeah.
Or you just struggled through it and learned on your own car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing that I wish I had then. Because these days, like, I don't know, like there's some like new faces that have come out and be a part of the Corolla community. That I guess we're now the good old boys. That there's a one way to have the Corolla or be a Corolla owner. I was go through the shit and struggle. Nowadays we have YouTube that tells you everything, which is great. I'm all about information sharing. I don't know where I'm going with this.
But the problem is, I probably one way to go with this, but the problem is like, for me too, it seems like the more easily available and easily accessible information is, the less people want to go look it up.
And that brings a certain kind of person. Because a certain kind of person that enjoyed Corollas back then is somebody that had that little taste of what having a Corolla was, driven a Corolla. Okay, this is what they want. and then struggled with the roll of life stuff that tends to happen when you're a Corolla owner, which would be, blowing diffs, blowing transmissions, blowing motors, what have you. And then when those things happen, you have to struggle. You have to go bust out the factory service manual. You have to ask your friends, how do you do something?
Or make friends.
Make friends. You have no YouTube to go to. And, that's, it really built the community because that's how I saw it. That actually was me because I was that little kid as a 12 or 13 years old going to the street races with my older friends that I used to work with at the go-karting place down the street. And, they had Corollas. They just got into Corollas and they were drifting it. And I was like, dude, this is cool. As a little 14, 15-year-old myself, and I was like, yeah, I want to get into this. And seeing, how hard it was for them, but they're having so much fun with 100 horsepower, maybe. And I kind of like, that's something I want.
Sorry to interrupt you, but is this your first and only one, or have you had more?
First one, same car.
Oh my God.
But this is like my 8th motor though.
What year is this? What year did you buy this car? That's what I'm trying to ask.
2007, 6.
I was gonna say it. That question dawned on me because, like, dude, you've had that car for a long time. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's gone through all of my phases, from the first time Corolla owner breaking everything. I remember that first year I blew the water pump and head gasket, and that was the first time I ever like wrenched on a Corolla, like just like get my hands dirty. I did brakes before that and having to do a head gasket job. I was like, okay, what am I doing? I looked at the factory service manual and I printed 6 copies because I had to write, steps on each one of them, and I got them dirty all the time. Then I had thankfully I had a shop teacher that showed me like, kind of what to do, and he had the all data for it too. And that was my struggle because I had to do that head gasket like 4 different times, and that 2-3 month span because I kept doing it wrong. I mistorqued it one time. I flipped the head gasket on upside down another time, and I had the head bolt holes clogged with like brake clean and oil and grease and dirt. That the bolts weren't torquing down all the way.
Oh shit!
So I kept blowing head gaskets.
Yeah. keep in mind, you guys. Mike was probably like 17 at the time.
Yes, I was 17.
Yeah.
And this was my car to. Well, my school is across the street from me, but it was my car to go to work. Go take my girlfriend out places, and see my family. It's like, yeah, I took the bus a lot. Real talk.
My high school automotive teacher told me a long time. He dropped so many lessons on me that I still remember to this day. One of those was like, you have your daily driver and then you have your project car. Don't mix the two, or else you'll be riding the bus all the time.
Dude, yes. Like my best mod, I still say this to this day, was getting a daily driver.
Oh yeah, no kidding, man. Yeah.
That was fun. I didn't learn that until I was like 20. And it was like a 1993 AE101. That thing was fun though. That thing got down.
What do I think is different for when we started versus like the current generation of guys just getting into this? And it's interesting because I see a wide range of new Corolla owners. Like you, because you could be, I think there's a guy in NorCal who's still in high school who has he bought it from Toyota Clinic, and then,
oh wow, that's a good drop.
Yeah, and then you could be like 30 or 40 and be first time Corolla owner. So I see like a spectrum of new owners.
The spectrum's interesting because we have some guys that are like the speed hunter people that like, oh, people talk about the 86, it's so great, and they get into it now. And they might be high school, and then you have the guys nowadays that might be in their 30s that grew up on Initial D and like our generation, but they now have money to play with.
Oh yeah.
Because the first time owners for us, we were like, a lot of us were high school kids.
But it was attainable for us.
It was.
Because like I was, my buddy from college was here the other day, so he paid $1,000 for his Corolla hatch, and I paid, not like maybe 2 or 3 years after, I paid $5,400 for a
your hatch.
Yeah, for a one owner, well maintained GTS hatch, which is like unfathomable.
That's unicorn status these
in
days.
2020, right?
Dude.
Yeah. So, money-wise, the level of attainability is a lot more difficult. That's why, high school people in our era could get one, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the reality of it. And I think the old guard, quote unquote, that, we grew up as high school kids playing with these cars. We expect that the new owners of these cars to have that same mentality of the high school kid us, which is, try to make things work, do it yourself, don't bitch. That the current new owners don't want to deal with that because they paid a lot of money for the cars, and to have those kind of problems that they maybe didn't anticipate, or they didn't expect, because those kind of problems are not really glorified when people talk about Hachiroku, initial D, drift car, but they don't know what it really means to be a Corolla owner, and they come across these problems.
Hey, you made a really good point about how, if you paid 10 grand for a GTS now, which is, you could get an FRS or a 350Z for much less than
Right.
that.
Dude.
But that 10 grand Corolla still needs work and still has parts that you're not going to find.
You might blow a motor if the motor is like old.
And you don't know the condition of the whole car, right? Yeah, you don't know. So that's a really good point, is like the expectation, like I paid 5 figures for this thing, and this thing is like
Piece of shit.
I hate to say it, but
okay, so like the new the hatchback that's on Bring a Trailer right now.
I'm not familiar, but go ahead.
Are you familiar with Bring a Trailer?
I'm familiar with Bring a Trailer,
So,
not this particular car, but
there's a white hatchback on Bring a Trailer that's stripped interior. It's got 2 bucket seats up front. It has 4AG blue top, and the owner has like 6 paragraphs of Hachiroku, coilovers, blah blah blah, fake wheels, fake kit, nice paint job, but at the very end he lists it's got a vacuum leak, and that's about it. And he has a video of him driving it, and there's a check engine light, and it's like, oh man. And right now it's going for like 7 grand, and it's like, I'm kind of worried for the new owner. And when people like comment on those sort of things and say, might not pass smog, and you're gonna pay close to 5 figures for a car that doesn't pass smog, come on. And I really think it's, poor education of the current batch of Corolla owners, new ones at least. I don't know.
It's a tough call. Like, if you've never been into Corollas and you've never been in the community, how would you know?
Right.
How would you know the struggle?
It's Corolla life.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it's so going back to the old guard and the new guard, the differences. The old guard is like, you're expected to deal with the bullshit. You're expected to have problems, keeping the car running, especially when it comes to racing use. You're expected to blow motors, blow rear ends, blow transmissions, because these cars were never, they were never meant for sustained abuse. Because, especially when it comes to racing, you're pushing it, 10 tenths, 9 tenths of the time for a couple hours of a day. That's a lot of wear and tear on a car.
30-year-old car.
30-year-old car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially with the new rubber compound these days, that's a lot of wear on the drivetrain. And it comes with the territory. The old guard's like, yeah, you break parts, you replace it, you fix it. That's what happens. New owners, that doesn't feel like they have that understanding, which when they do come across, that bullshit, when we see those complaints on Facebook, we'll laugh and point at you.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry, but because we've all been there before, and it's a form of banter. Because shit, like the Facebook groups today, like there are certain ones where the banter is accepted, and there's others where the comments are locked. But it's banter, and if you can take the heat, then you can take the heat of being a Corolla owner. That's my perspective, and I know it's not really right, because you're making fun of somebody and you're bullying somebody at the end of the day, which 2020, that's not okay, apparently.
It's
It's so
I
weird.
gotta say it's a tough call because like I think this is just one of those arenas where you really gotta have tough skin to be a Corolla owner.
Dude,
Because I mean, not only the internet, but in
just owning it.
I mean, yeah, in just ownership of the car, prices of parts. I mean, everything you gotta have like a tough skin to be a Corolla owner now. Or I mean, you've always had to. It's just gotten worse, right?
It's more transparent
Yeah.
because we have these kids that are just like, yeah, oh, I own a Hachiroku, or I watch Speed Hunters and I watch all these YouTube people talk about how great these Corollas are, and they finally get one, and you know, because we don't glamorize the bullshit. I mean, we kind of do, but
No, no.
it's not in general though.
I tell everyone don't buy a Corolla.
Yeah.
Dude, I've never ever told someone like, yeah, man, these cars are sick. You should buy one. I've never told anyone that. I say, don't buy these things, man. Just don't do it. And here's the thing: if they're around me and they keep saying, and if I keep telling them, go ahead. Cool, thanks, man.
We're drinking on this podcast, by the way.
Sorry, this won't be the first or won't be the last one. So, cheers, man. Yeah, this is one of those things where like if you're around me and I keep telling you don't buy this car, but you end up buying one, you know, you've probably weathered that like first storm of, you know, maybe you did your own research and be like, why does he keep telling me not to buy this car, right? But I see that as like, I don't really know how to say it, but for me it's like
This guy really wants it.
the first level, right? If you can break past this first barrier, then
The guy that works on Corolla is telling me not to buy one.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've never ever told anyone like, dude, you need to get one of these.
No, like okay, so going back to, you know, if I were a new Corolla owner, so go actually before me being a Corolla owner, like if I was, you know, shit, I bought my car when I was 15. If it were a 15-year-old me, 2020, looking for my first car, it would not be a Corolla, because I was a little, you know, shithead kid. I wanted to go drift around and play with my friends and, you know, just you know, drive. That was my accessibility in 2005 or 6, because my friends, you know, when I worked at the go-karting place, there was like four other Corolla owners there, and they kind of showed me the ropes, and I was really lucky.
Do we still know these people?
David Gaspar.
Oh shit.
Yeah, David
Yeah,
God. Yep.
Who else? 3 more.
There's one Vietnamese dude. I forgot his name. There was this other white guy who was pretty tight with Alex Pfeiffer, and he used to drive a lot with him, maybe with Pfeiffer, or I don't know. He was just one of those guys that just really liked driving, because he was actually a legit race car driver.
Oh shit.
But he just found the Corolla because it was fun, 4 disc brakes, you know, 8,000 RPM. That was his thing. And this other Filipino dude, Liddell. He was a Japanese dude, Mark Fujikawa, but he phased out early. And Kevin Marley, and he was a crazy guy. Like he's I don't know, he was an interesting guy because he got into Corollas, drifting them, got into S13, you know, S20 turbo like way early in 2008, and then crashed that, and got a Miata, crashed that. But he was a crazy guy though. But he had a Corolla at one point, and he always had a Corolla, despite all these cars. So, but I mean, so like that was my upbringing, and they showed me the Corolla way and the tricks of like driving them, braking them, and working on them. I guess I'm really lucky. So if I were backtracking a little bit, if I were a 17-year-old shithead kid today, yeah, I would definitely not get a Corolla. I'd probably get like a 350Z or an E36 because they're cheap and they get down. You know, that was my forte or my attitude. I just happen to fall in love with how much fun these cars are that I've not broken away from these chassis over the years.
So that's a good segue into the next topic is...
Dude, are we on number 2 right now?
We've been skipping around, but that is pretty much number 2. What keeps us around these cars? Because for both of us, it's been you for sure have more than 10 years with owning the car, but for me, I would say more than 10 years in the community. I haven't had 10 years of ownership yet. I've only had 8 years with my Corolla.
You
What?
go first. What is it for you?
Well, oh, this will lead into into the next topic.
I'll cut you off.
Definitely the community in NorCal. It's more about the community we have here rather than the car itself.
Mm.
Like I really enjoy, like I don't get out much. I pretty much live in the shop. First Fridays of the month are my one time to see the world and say hi to my friends. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so
Oh, it should be prefaced. We have monthly Corolla meets in the Milpitas city in NorCal. First Friday starts at like 8, 9-ish p.m. in 85 Degree Bakery right off 237. Just swing by.
you'll be shocked at what you see there.
Sometimes it's a lot of people bring in their daily drivers.
It's been better as of late.
Okay.
Yeah, as of late, like I've seen some really interesting stuff. Yeah, it's good to see like all the same faces, but then there's always a surprise.
Like Billy. Oh my God.
Yeah,
The 100. That's a real. That's a real big dollar car.
yeah. So Billy Edmonds, my memory of that. First of all, no announcement. He just shows up. Second thing, when he leaves, he revved the shit out of it and left, and I was like, well,
As expected.
well, you own that car, you own that engine, you have every right to do that. But I was just like, oh man.
People talk about wanting a Formula Atlantic motor. He has a Formula Atlantic motor
Yeah,
with external injectors. Oh my God.
yeah.
Oh, I'm getting wet. All right, so the community and you, I guess, being a shut-in, just kept you around.
Yeah, I would say pre-Autohaus, the community is what kept me around, the community in NorCal. Nowadays, in current time, it's the worldwide community that keeps me around because, I've been really fortunate with the fact having this podcast that I've been able to reach people around the world.
I bet they're reaching out to you. Some bit.
Some, both.
That's awesome.
Both. But yeah, to be able to have a worldwide community, bring all of us together and then share knowledge and stories with each other, I think that's what really, that's like the highlight of my life nowadays.
That's fucking tight.
Yeah, thanks, man. I totally agree. Like,
Cheers to that.
cheers to that. Yeah, if you live in some country that speaks another language, like I want to hear about.
What is the Corolla life like out there? Shit.
Yeah. Or like, so a few episodes ago with Martin, like he has 1 of 5 Corollas in Sweden. Like,
Yes. That was a great episode.
like, what is it like to be 1 of 5 in your country, right?
I can't imagine that. Like knowing, so like he's a real Corolla guy. Even though that's what blows my mind about these cars too, is that it's, my upbringing of these cars was kind of forced on me because, the people around me were all about it. And I just luckily happened to get into it. And then, after driving it for actually a few times, I understood the charm. But for somebody to like not know, not not driven one before and to outright buy one like that, like, oh, welcome to real life. But then, listen to podcasts, like, he's all about it, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Martin's like 2 feet in and pretty much it sounds like for life at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Full commitment.
So what keeps you around these cars? More than 10 years already you've had this car.
So I think about this a lot, especially with the hardships I've had. That has given me a million reasons to get rid of this car. I don't know. I've boiled it down to how much fun this car is driving at its limits or driving near its limits, like just some back roads driving. That it's always bringing a smile to my face, and that the way everything is, 4AG, 4-disc brakes, even with the 4.3, it's fun. And it's really charming. And to get that enjoyment with the investment I put into it, it's definitely a big part of my identity just because of how much fun it is. Now, in turn, because it's the car that's the reason for my enjoyment, it's the same thing that I've noticed with a lot of others that like this car as well too, and in turn the community, because that's what they're about too. They're about, first and foremost themselves and their cars and enjoying their cars, and like I like bringing happiness to other people. That's why I do the whole community stuff. That when someone's really about it, that I'm really like, I want them to have that same enjoyment too, especially when like they've got that bug, because not everybody gets the bug. Because some people like turbo cars, or some people like 4-wheel drive, or looking cool.
Some are S chassis people.
Yeah, that's fine. And there's some S chassis dudes that know what the Corolla is like, because we'll get the same respect with a stock blue top, and because we'll get down and have fun, or just having fun, and not have to worry about the dick measuring shit. Because who cares? You're driving a Corolla. It's 1.6.
I don't know. I don't know. Some events I've been to, I feel like people still don't understand.
It's fine. Like there's those Porsche dudes, and for them it might be a dick measuring contest. But in turn, it's like it's really or bringing it back. It's all about what I want and what I like. I just like driving my car, and I like sharing that enjoyment with others that can weather Rolla life. People bitch about Rolla life. It's not for you.
So the next thing I've written for us is the community in NorCal versus the world. What's special about NorCal Corolla community that's particularly different?
The fact that we have people that are willing to help, and the availability of these cars and parts to us. I think that kind of boiling it all down. That's what it is. Especially with our NorCal group. Sure, we talk a lot of shit, but you come to our meet, we're all friendly.
You know what's different though? In SoCal, they have more available to them, but the community is definitely not as tight as up here.
I wasn't saying that. I get that question a lot, and the SoCal guys, I don't know, they stick to themselves. I don't know.
I'll say this, because when I go to our picnics and stuff, people bring like their kids and their wife and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what's different. It's like it's for sure for me. It's much tighter knit up here, even though we're spoiled. We do have availability of parts, but not like SoCal.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, not like SoCal. And it's interesting because for us, we feel like, for me at least, we have to band together a lot tighter because we know the struggle.
Mm-hmm. Especially know somebody in person. They need a fucking diff. Yeah, I got a spare diff. I got 2 axles. If someone's blowing an axle, I'm not going to post it for sale, but if someone needs it, I got it.
I guess that's pretty common. Like I'm in the same boat where like I have all these parts that I don't list for sale, but if I know someone in the community who's like, hey, do you know anyone who has an extra this? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I do.
Oh,
yeah, I'll help you out, man. That happens more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that builds, great relationships. Like when we have our events, it's just really friends getting together, and we'll make fun of our cars. We'll make fun of each other's cars. But
we'll make fun of each other in general.
Yeah. Oh, someone broke a leg. It's like, man, what happened to your leg? But it's because we care about each other, and we want the best for, or we want, to have, we want like our cars to continue to be supported and to be around, and you do that with the people.
It's always good for me to see younger owners, like I'll pay it forward, give or sell to them at a very low price, like some part they absolutely need. And it's good to hear them, later on, like years later, they'll be like, dude, I remember back in the day, all these times, like you saved my ass. So that's why I like, for example, sold this part to this guy for so cheap, or I just gave it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's good to hear, like, because you paid it forward in the first place, like you teach like the younger generation, the newest guys to like this is how it is, man.
Dude, I was that kid. I was that 16, 17-year-old, kid trying to work with the factory service manual, confused, and reached out for help, and the help was there. Even though they made fun of me a lot oh my god, back then Club4ag was like, people say Facebook was bad. No, people were yeah, no, people were actually there might have been a few fights, but it was, they were just bantering at the end of the day. And when it came to like helping them out, seriously, because when I reached out for help, like I really did get the help I needed, even though they made fun of me.
Yeah, unfortunately, no, I know you've gotten your fair share of like people giving you a hard time, but
you remember that?
it happens more often than not.
Dude. And I think that's, okay, the seg or the theme of this podcast, ownership of Corollas 2009 versus ownership of Corollas in 2020. The same people are mostly there, but and in turn, those people will make fun of you. But if you really need the help, they will come out. Making fun of it, though, is kind of like, real life. I don't know.
More than just me, I'm sure you can name some other people too. But man, I have a tough time, like, because you mentioned you would look in the FSM first, and then you'd be like, I'm stuck, I need help. But nowadays, it's tough because it's like make no effort to try.
No. You know what the word for those people that didn't try back in the Club4ag days was use the search function.
Oh yeah, search function. Yeah.
And then so that, yeah, I got that a lot. And I gave that a lot too as a 19-year-old jerk on the internet.
Yeah, it's tough, like, because I know how readily accessible information is now. I really have a tough time with like some questions I get.
Oh, that's right. You are the go-to Corolla guy, and I bet you get all those questions.
I'm
sorry.
I appreciate it. I am definitely not the go-to guy, but
okay.
But here's one point, because I've started so many different like media channels, that gives an outlet for people to ask questions.
I'm sorry for those guys.
and like
okay, so I guess this is I think this is an interesting thing for us to talk about, because we're struggling right now. Because like for any new person that's listening right now, like we really want you to succeed.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
We want you to understand and love this car for what it is, because as a car itself, I think the car can really turn a lot of people to fun driving rather than I don't know, whatever is trendy. High horsepower, big angle, whatever. Like all that stuff is great, but fun car is really where it's at. And the Corolla is like a great fun car. We want to share that experience with as many people as we can, because it's a fun car. The car sells itself. But because of the other nuances that comes with owning these fun cars, because it's like, I don't know, it's 2020. My car's in 1984. It's nearing 40 years old. You will get 40-year-old car problems,
Did you buy your car as a SR5?
No, it's a first generation GTS, August 1984.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have door bars in my doors.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Holy
Anyways,
shit.
we want you guys to succeed and to enjoy these cars for as they are, because all the hype that Noriaro says or Donut Media now is going to talk about, it's a great car, but the real life problems that you will come across, they are real. Don't let that discourage you. And if you are discouraged, sell the car.
Dude, I hate to say it, but like the level of enjoyment you get out of this car, the level of struggle is probably higher than that.
Oh, yes.
Especially as time goes on.
Yeah.
Like as the car gets older, the level of struggle is only going to increase.
Huh. You made me realize something.
Go ahead.
I got into this car because I wanted to drive, and I drove the shit out of my car. I was, my first 3 years of owning it, the back roads, twice a week, 3 times a week, learning to drift and drifting and crashing all the time. It was fun. Then after like the 2-year mark or 3-year mark, I started having the real real life problems. Like I started blowing my motors, blowing more motors, blowing another motor, rear end problems, everything else, clutch, brakes, drivetrain. It was a lot of fun. And I think at that point, I kind of grew out of my wanting to drive all the time and drift all the time to, okay, I like building and or learning how to work things out, how to solve problems. Because that's what it got me to do, is like solve problems. I like solving problems now. To now it's like, okay, now I want to performance rather than full on driving. So I've changed, I guess.
This is definitely a problem solving and critical thinking car.
Yeah.
It's not a Amazon Prime car. 100%.
Or eBay.
100%, man. You know what's funny? Like, as much as people make fun of it, like, it's interesting. Like, you bought this car to drive. I didn't. This was not a...
Really?
I didn't buy this car to drive. 100% I bought it because of Initial D.
Wow, you're a fanboy. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I was fanboy.
But
Well, actually, my fanboy was FC.
But another way to think about it too was I had the Celica and the Supra at the time. So
that's right.
So those were my driving cars. I almost say the Initial D car.
You could say Initial D car.
Yeah. So no. So I bought the Corolla because that was like my childhood poster car. I already had 2 driving cars at the time. So it's interesting to hear you say
look at you. Yeah, the 3 race cars.
Yeah. And then shortly after I had to sell both of them. So
you made the right choice.
yeah. Well, you know what? In hindsight, I did. I think like my gut feeling was to keep the Corolla. People thought I was freaking crazy when I sold the Supra and kept the Corolla.
You had the first generation. No, you had a
Mark IV.
Wait, you had a Mark IV?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'll hold my comments. Kidding. Wow. I don't blame you. Like I've launched I don't know, some Lamborghini. When I worked at Le Mans, he had a side business where he rented out Lamborghinis and Ferraris, and he let the owner let me drive a Lamborghini home from a parade one time, and I drove around some corners quick, and I even launched it, which was a no-no. My boss started yelling at me for launching it. You know, he said rev it $3,000 and let off the clutch, which I thought he said, or $5,000 and let off the clutch. I thought it was a $5,000, really. And I did that, and it fucking launched. And he was yelling at me. You know, he said, get off the line and get it to $5,000. No, but it was fun. It's fast, but it's like this is too much car for me. I prefer the Corolla, which is still stupid for me to say, but it's a lot of car, man. Like having like 500 horse, it's I don't know. Corolla is like I like pushing a car that's 100 horse, 10 tenths more than being afraid of a car.
No, that's something really common that I hear is slow car fast.
Yeah,
because you can drive 10 tenths on the street, you're still not going anywhere.
Yeah, fuck, mind the road, 45 mile an hour speed limit, and that's hard to do. And it's fun to do in a Corolla.
Which, in a modern performance car, you may never even touch 3/10.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, you may never even touch that.
Dude, no, my daily, my S2000, I've taken that to Laguna, Chacuala, Buttonwillow, and I when I did Laguna, it was fun, but I was like, I knew the car had more.
Oh,
and it's such a race car chassis. It's like the X-Bone or whatever. Like the back half of the car is tube chassis, and there's so much room for me to like take it faster. I knew it every corner, and it was playing with me because I was too much of a pussy. But like I was driving within my limits and within the tires. And I look on YouTube and there are dudes that are doing it with stock tires, doing 2 seconds faster than me. I'm like, fuck.
How does your S2000 compare to the Corolla? And I'll preface it like this. A lot of people I ask compare the driving experience of both to be very similar.
It is.
Like the FRS, 100% for sure, an FRS will not give you the driving experience of a Corolla.
I disagree with that a little bit.
A little bit. Okay, I want to hear, but the most common comparison I get is if you want the driving experience of a Corolla, Yeah, it's a S2000.
The way you dive in to the corner, I think, when where it differences is how you take the corner and how you exit. You dive in the corner fast, hard, because you can rely a lot on the tires and the brakes, and then you can get on throttle easy. With the Corolla, you can get on throttle easy because there's no power, so you can full throttle out. With the S2000, you can, maybe for most drivers, like for myself, I get scared because I know I can get on throttle a lot earlier, but when I do, I get the whiplash, and so that's where the difference between the two cars is the way you take the corner. With the way you take corner in a Corolla is go in fast, dive in, rely on a lot of tires and brakes, get on throttle, but then it's more so how much angle you can go through the corner sideways. It's oversteer forward kind of car. It's more oversteer going into the corner than anything else if you take it right. Right? Would you agree? You drive your car a lot.
But I've been driven a lot of S2000s.
I don't know, but for your Corolla experience though, I'm talking about Corolla experience. It's a little like you take one like if you have maybe shit tires, you want to see how sideways you want to take a car.
For my experience, it's like this. Both of them I feel are momentum cars, because S2K, you still need to wring it out to get power out of it.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
where it's different for me is when like before you hit the apex, like Corolla can get on throttle, maybe like start playing with it, and then hit it full the way through, like right at the apex point, right at exit. S2000, I can't do that. S2000, I have to wait. And I have to wait because if I get on throttle too early, even just a little bit, it whips me out. It takes me off in the dirt. And I've had that happen to me a couple times, and it scared me. Like shit, like coming out of the corkscrew in the S2000, I was like, there's one point where I had gone on throttle a little too early, and it or no, actually, I got off throttle and it started locking up. But that was a bad example. But most corners, besides the corkscrew or turn off the corkscrew, everything else, it's like I have to wait, and I don't do that in the Corolla. I'm always full on throttle, and because I have to wait in the S2000, it's like it makes me like when do I get on? Because I don't like playing in the kitty litter. But it's so I guess those experiences are very similar because you get to dive in and it's a momentum car. Yes, they're both momentum cars.
Yeah.
But it's the S2000 is more understeer friendly. It plays with understeer more than the Corolla does oversteer. Corolla, I take the corner in the Corolla, is like, okay, how sideways am I going to get?
Oh, okay.
The S2000, I don't know when that point is.
Okay, so here's another thing. Is like another common theme is like if you make a mistake in a Corolla, you're punished for it. There's no correcting it. It's like point of no return.
Oh yeah, you're going sideways.
Yeah, you're gonna eat it if you don't do the right input. 100%.
Nah, S2000 might send you to the wall. Dude, those a few times I was like, man, like this is too much car for me. Even with like the 200 treadwear, it's fast, and for me to push it like I do the Corolla, I'm afraid.
Driving experience for an FRS versus a Corolla. How many FRSs have you driven?
I've only driven one.
Okay.
And it was a test drive with the sales guy in the back.
Okay.
My girlfriend at the time in the passenger seat. She was looking at cars and like, hey, they have an FRS here. It was a Volkswagen dealership. I was like, I just want to test drive that. Let's go test drive. It felt comparably for me as a blacktop 20 valve Corolla. When you get on throttle, you can kind of hear it a little bit because of, special sound effects that Toyota did. And then, it rings out at the top end a little bit. And then the turn-in bite, it feels like a Corolla turn-in. And then the way you take a corner, it feels like, how sideways am I going to get? Because I took a green light. Like I got right off an off-ramp and into the streets. I dumped the clutch in second and got it sideways. I was like, this is easy. Like a Corolla easy. And it let me play. Like I got on throttle, played the throttle a little bit. It's like I can control the angle with the throttle on off a little bit. And it felt like a Corolla so much. And I think that initiation feel and the comfort of it being sideways felt a lot like a Corolla, because Corollas feel very comfortable sideways.
I agree with half of that. Corollas feel very comfortable sideways. I agree with that. I don't feel like FRS drives like a Corolla.
Okay,
Yeah, both. And FRS has its advantages for sure.
it's a new car.
But I would say for grip driving, an FRS does not have the same driving experience as a Corolla does.
Yeah, I don't grip drive my Corolla anymore. You want another one? Still working on it? All right.
Yeah, still working on it. Thank you, man.
Chill. But that was the only time I driven it, and because I try to imagine what the Toyota engineers were thinking when they put it together, because they have a blank canvas and they have a lot of variables to consider building a new car. So, yeah, I think that initial bite-in and controllability sideways, like those are those aspects I see in the Corolla and the FRS. Dude, are we at time yet?
Just about, but I mean, we can keep going if you're good.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Just
You can totally cut this shit out.
No, go. You're good, man. We'll just go through the topics, and then if you have anything else you want to bring up, please bring it up, man.
Actually, I'll bring up my topic.
Okay.
Dude, why did you leave your day job to do this?
Oh man, that's a very good question, and I will.
You had
answer
a
it.
you had a great gig. You had a union job and shit, right?
Yeah, I could have spent the next 30 years doing nothing and had an easy retirement. So for sure, I had an easy job before this.
Yes, I know that. Why? This is why I like you too, by see.
Say that again.
This is why I really respect you. By the way.
Because I left that job.
No, you made the jump.
Oh,
and you're not making money off YouTube, and you're
losing money
on YouTube. You're losing your,
everything: pension, retirement.
Oh my God!
What else are we losing? Healthcare, all of it.
Yes, and okay, go on. Why?
There's not one big reason. There's a lot of individual reasons, and so we'll list out a few of them. So, one thing I heard about following your dreams is that the worst thing you can do in life is be elderly and retired and have regrets.
Everybody has regrets, though. Come on, dude. Oh, is this a big one?
This one was a big one.
Okay,
for me.
all right. Never take that back.
This one was a big one for me. Like I thought about myself 30 years forward. Like if I was, because think about it. At my old government job, 30 years and then you get full retirement. So I thought about it to myself, like in 30 years, am I really going to be happy? Was this really the right choice for me? Or am I going to regret not doing the Autohaus full time? And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I would kick the shit out of myself with full of regret if I didn't make this jump. And then here's another thing. I was not happy at my job every single day.
Oh, happiness is a big factor.
Yeah, like, man, I hate to say it. My government job, it was like
you can sugarcoat this in case you have to go back.
I don't have to go back.
Wood.
I'm not going back.
All right,
I'm not going back.
I'm still knocking on wood though for you.
Yeah. Like, man, I hate to say it, but it was like waste as much time as you could because you had 30 years to waste. All you do is like burn up days to go to your retirement. And that's not me, man. I can't live my life like wasting my days away. Right? Like I still want to learn. I still want to do stuff, still want to meet people. Like there's more I want to do, which that job didn't offer me.
Are you happy now doing this? Was it worth it so far? I mean, it's been 6 months now, right?
It's been more, let's see, 7 months almost 7 months because I quit before the end of the year. I quit before the end of the year, and then we're in the middle of July right now, so just about 6 or 7 months. 6 months and some change. Am I happy? Yeah, 100% happy, man. The workload is a lot heavier. I have plenty of hard disagreements with the other people I work with, but at the end of the day, we can work through it, and I'm like 100% happier than I was. Yeah, the staff. No, 100%, man. The staff here, like
they're great though. A little difficult, maybe.
So here's a good way of saying it. We have to make hard decisions in the background so that everything else can run smoothly.
Oh. I guess I never even thought of what those kind of things would be.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Like we definitely have to have a lot of like heart to hearts and like hard decisions in the background so that, for like you guys or for the community, things can work out for the better or like run more smoothly, right?
hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's not all rosy out here. Like,
Hey, man, I see Corollas every day, on your thing, and it's like, man, I wish I could work on Corolla. Actually, no, I don't wish I could work on Corollas every day.
So here's another part of it that I tell these guys all the time. That, yeah, sure, you see all these Corollas out here, but I force myself to experience Corolla life every day.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to deal with that every day. You have to break people's hearts. Like, yeah, something's blown or something's bad, and how do you tell them you're not breaking the leg, but it's really just 30-year-old car problems.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the physical labor part of it. I guess it's everything for me is like plus and minus. I enjoy learning. I enjoy working through and solving problems. But on the backside of it is like Rolla life doesn't make you money.
No, it doesn't. Like, it's funny. Like that's my now, like, thankfully that you're around, and Battle Garage is around, and the other small dudes like Limitless is not around anymore. But there's this Rick who's at Speedy, but he hates working on Corollas. Or I mean, he likes working on Corollas, but I think he prefers not to. But there's like, when people have a problem on our NorCal group, it's like, here's the factory service manual, use the search function. Here's some YouTube things maybe, but if none of those options work for you, we have a local shop that you can reach out to and, expect to pay shop prices because this guy's got to put food on the table.
I was gonna say we live in I don't know if a lot of people outside the country, or I mean outside California know, but like Bay Area price, like $1 million home does not get you that much.
No.
Yeah,
it gets you like a 3-bedroom, 1 or 2 bath house.
Or, I mean, at least in my neighborhood, $1 million home, you're still living next to homeless people. So
that's you. Oh, yeah. That's all Bay Area.
Yeah,
but still, a 3-bedroom, like 3-bedroom house in Idaho is like 150, 160K. 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in like where we're at right now in Mission. So 1.5 mil.
Which sounds like a lot if you haven't been out here, but
hey, it's reality right now. It's wild, dude.
I was gonna say like 5 families all living in one house. That's the reality out here.
Mm-hmm. So you're happy?
I am. I can tell you with a straight face, I'm happy. There's definitely days where it's a tremendous struggle, days and weeks where it's a tremendous struggle. But at the end of the day, I'm genuinely happy with my decision. I made the right decision for sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for you.
I appreciate it, man. I know you are. I know you are for sure because like I've seen the support on the Facebook groups. Like when I released that video that made the announcement that I was going full time, I saw you shared it, which like I sincerely appreciate, man. Yeah.
That's a big jump. Dude, you're pension job for this. I was like, we can't just let this slide. Like you are this is commitment. People talk about commitment all the time. Talk about doing this, talk about doing that. You're doing it, dude. And that's respect. And I'm around a lot of people that talk big and dream big, but fuck, man, act big, and that's you. That's respect, man. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that, man. I sincerely appreciate it.
I was kind of afraid of being on here, or if you would accept me, because I do talk a lot on the Facebook groups.
You know what? I'm okay with having anyone on because I've had people from like all walks of life, and I've had people who don't like Corollas on the podcast already.
Oh, don't like Corollas? Who is that? I'm just kidding.
We'll talk about it off podcast, but yeah, I've had people who don't like Corollas on the podcast before. So I mean, I'm cool with like the whole spectrum of people because I want to hear everyone's perspective.
Yeah. That's my favorite part about Corolla owners is that there is such a big spectrum of owners. Like when you go to their NorCal meets, it's like you have tech bros that make 6 figures. You have dudes that are, high school kids. Like we still have high school kids, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And they have some shitty ass cars, but it's like, no, they sell 4AG. It's barely running, but like, man, like they're out here. I'm rooting for them. And we have
freaking D1 drivers.
We had fucking the guys,
Dirk Edwards is ex-rally driver.
Yeah, he was a Toyota driver at one point.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We have Billy Edmonds. I think Billy probably has the most expensive Corolla in the United States right now. Easily.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Especially with that motor. Oh my God. Like half that money is in that motor. And he's building another one. Oh my God.
I was gonna say one big thing for me is like a lot of the OGs off Club4ag are right here in NorCal. So like you, Bad Boy, Turtle.
I consider myself like second gen. I think the real OGs would be like Max Masawa,
Oh shit, yeah.
Nikki,
Oh yeah, Nikki for sure. Yeah.
and his crew, his old Filipino buddies, and
I was gonna say Freddie's been doing it since like the 70s.
yeah, Freddie and I think Nikki were like right up there. But you know what? Like, think about it now. It's like perspective wise and what they've done, what we've done. Yeah.
You know what's interesting? I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like for the guys who knew this car as brand new, and then for us who did it in the mid to late 2000s, I want to say mid 2000s, the struggle was pretty similar. It's not until recently that everything was available.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah, they're the ones telling us like use Cressida springs and use truck shocks on the rear end. Like, wait, what?
Oh yeah. What else have I heard?
Use a truck. No, the Toyota van, the 4-wheel drive van.
Oh, the rear end out of that.
No, the front diff has a 4.7.
Oh shit.
So the Toyota box vans, 4-wheel drive, the front diffs have the same part number as the 4.77 that works on our rear ends.
Holy shit.
That's one of their OG tricks for a cheap 4.7. Toyota OEM.
There's so many of these little tricks that I've learned from the first generation guys that like it just blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like all they had was the newspaper.
Yeah, and junkyards. And probably had a lot of time too. Yeah, because Corollas were still in junkyards back then. Like they were junkyard cars. That's why like Nikki was telling me back in the day they were called the Pinoy Boys in the Daly City and stuff, where like all these Filipino owners, they really like the Corollas, the GTS Boys. I think so it's called. Yeah, it's GTS Boys. And the minimum requirement for a GTS boy, I'm a little drunk right now, but it was minimum 6 Corolla GTSs in ownership.
Holy shit.
At the same time to be considered GTS boy. And that was realistic when, they'd pick them up for $400 or $500. They really love their cars, I guess.
I've heard the comparison before for us in the Bay Area. For like the first generation Filipino people, like a classic Toyota was like our Hondas.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Like our like Honda Civic was their AE86.
Yeah.
Or like
that was their community back then.
Or like
all their
Peanut
friends
or
had
Mango. It. Yeah.
They couldn't afford the Peanut Mango because it was probably Corolla price now to them. Oh, there's the Corolla GTS. I guess.
Or I guess the other way to look at it is like...
Oh, they had the 510s back then. 510s were the hot shit. And the Zs.
The problem with 510 is that like it was big for Americans.
Yeah, the BRE boys. Or the BRE racing team.
Yeah.
They did their damage.
So I think for Datsun, the market's always been there just because it's... Datsun's
they
always
have
been like...
the racing pedigree.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
In America, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no like record-winning AE86 at Laguna Seca from 1960, right?
It just makes even less sense because there are those Corollas, or no, Turenos and Levins in Europe that had those record-breaking, like, the BTCC cars.
Oh, yeah.
Those were cool. But they didn't have the sales numbers like we did in North America.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So comparison with the rest of the world in America, like we've been very lucky the past 10 years, 15 years of pricing in Corollas because they used to be junkyard cars. They were junkyard cars, and they can be bought from the junkyard for $800, $500, $1,500 because we had the numbers sold here, and the rest of the world didn't have the numbers that were sold here.
Or weren't even sold in that country.
Right. Like the Sweden guy. Like, oh my God. And so I remember looking on, I was pretty active in the forums back then, and not so much these days. But back then, I looked on the prices for like Australian for their 11s, and like they didn't have 4ACs; they had the 4K motors,
Oh my God.
and that was their considered SR5, but it was just a 11 with a 4K motor.
Worse than our
Worse,
S5.
whoa, yeah, 4K. That's just a piece of shit. And those things in 2011, 12 were selling for like $5,000 to $6,000 US dollars,
Shit.
or maybe more, probably like closer to $8,000 US dollars in like 2009 and 10. And 2009 and 10, like you picked your car up for what, $5,000, right?
In 2012, 5,400.
Oh, 2012. Okay, so I got my car in 2006 for 1,800.
Wow.
I got lucky. Yeah, 2009. I think they were going for like $3-4,000, and then Europe was around the same, or probably double that, like 10 to 12,000. And they've kind of leveled. That's where they're kind of out today. But here, recently, in the past 2 years, they've shot up in price. Like you got the cars going for like the 32K car, the $7,000 car piece of shit I mentioned earlier. Like there's another $20,000 car that sold earlier this year.
Well, how I look at it is like this is a 5-figure car that still needs work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. All right, what's next on the list?
Club4ag forums versus Facebook versus the future.
I think we kind of went on the general feel between how it was then and how it is today, except the way things were then were a lot more explicit and maybe direct. Actually, no. I'm on the monitoring side of things. I see a lot of everything, but what's highlighted to me is just how people talk shit.
I forget about that. So you're a moderator for the NorCal Corolla Facebook group now.
I started that.
Oh, you started the NorCal Corolla Facebook group.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay, never mind. Yeah.
And I knew, like, I kind of took what was great about Club4ag back then. I also took what I thought was great about Ziptide.com. Are you familiar with Ziptide?
Very vaguely.
What Ziptide is a very, very exclusive group of elitist drifty boys, and they were very exclusive with the way they did things, and including people into the forum, whereas everything else was free for all, just come right in. What I liked about the exclusivity of it, at least how they initially did it, was they forced you to introduce yourself to the group. They forced you to kind of like break the ice with everybody. Everybody got to know who was coming in new. Everybody ripped you apart. Everybody talked shit about you. But that was entry into their community. And that's what made them tight, I think. I was never part of it until recently, because now I guess it's pretty dead. Actually, it is pretty dead. And I asked Colin Frost, he's, I guess, one of the moderators there. I was like, hey, I asked him about Ziptide, and he added me right in. But the whole, breaking the ice with everybody, I like that. Because, that's what makes a community. Everybody knows each other. And that's what I did with the NorCal group, was when I first started it, was everybody introduce yourself. If you don't introduce yourself, I'll kick you out. Because, if you want to be part of the community and take advantage of what a community is, we need to know who you are. And we want to welcome you, but at least know who you are, what you're about. And, we'll embrace you.
Do a lot of people get kicked out?
Yes, I kicked a lot of people out.
Oh, wow.
Actually, there's some people that have been pending 2 months now to kick out because I've just been lazy. Dude, I've been running that group for like 9 years now.
Yeah, so that's one interesting part of the NorCal Facebook group, is that it's a private group, and then one requirement is that you have to do a specific introduction.
No, the requirement is, yes, do the introduction, but the only requirement is you have to like Corollas. You don't even have to be a Corolla owner to be in the group.
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, actually, 2 requirements. You have to be in NorCal or be in some way associated with NorCal, because we don't want the SoCal boys coming in our group. There's some of them already, and they know who they are. But my goal was I wanted to take this model nationwide or big time wide on Facebook because I like what we have. 'Cause I think it's special, but I don't think it's doable on a bigger scale.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean it's not doable on a bigger scale?
Like being able to introduce um, everybody and who they are, what they drive, and whatever, and expect everybody to play nicely. Because you look on the Club 86 Facebook group, and it's a shit show every other day. My opinion. I like being a part of it because I find enjoyment in that sort of stuff. But it is what it is, I guess. But nobody feels connected. They don't have that community feeling,
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah.
and that's what I think we have in NorCal. That at least everybody has some sort of tie to the intro post, because the intro post now is like 1,100 posts long, or 1,100 comments, or 1,200 comments last I checked, and that's pretty good activity for just introducing everybody. And we don't make fun of each other as much as anymore, unless there's some personal beef, which that's all it is nowadays, just personal beef. And I have to tell the people that have personal beef against each other to calm down. Sometimes I give them timeouts, but that's about it nowadays.
That's a really good point you mentioned is on the NorCal group, when I see a screen name, like I've probably met you in real life. Like I may have met your kids before. So it's like really, you're right. It is really personal on the NorCal group at this point. Yeah.
hmm And I like keeping the numbers small. It's not about quantity; it's about quality, and it's something hard to find in car groups, in my opinion. And I think that's what makes us special in NorCal, is that you know we have people willing to help each other out. We know each other, and sometimes know our kids in a lot of cases. And it's what other car group can you say does that? Maybe Subaru people, because Subaru people are pretty tight.
I'm not sure. I'm not that big into the Subaru community, but
I see some of their picnics, and they're pretty big, and they have kids out there.
oh, cool, cool, cool.
That's cool, I think.
We may have touched on this before, but I think this is worth bringing up.
Excuse me. Oh my god. Okay.
But the generational gap in, let's just talk about the brand new Corolla
Corolla
Cats.
owners. Yes. So in 2010 or maybe 2012, Corolla owner coming into the Corolla game, for them to get a decent running Corolla, $4 or $5 grand, for them to get a proper Corolla built, black top, some coilovers, their build might come out to maybe $10 grand overall. They have a solid car. Now, college kid can probably take on some student loans and put one together, or work their way to that over some years. Young professional can do that fairly easily, and that was what it was like in 2012. In 2020, to get that same level of builds, it's nowadays for stock Corolla that hasn't been touched. Fuck, those might be even more nowadays. 12 grand? Something's been touched? Maybe 10 grand?
Yeah, like one owner GTS.
One owner GTS?
Yeah.
If everything works, no check engine light, passes smog, 15?
Yeah, I mean, 5 figures is about the asking price, and that's
Depending on the paint condition at that point, and dings and dents. And that's a different kind of owner. And especially when they are picking something up that's modded. That's actually something that's really, changed the way I thought how things were going to work out as years went on. When I was younger, I always thought that the stock cars that haven't been touched, or relatively stock, a couple owners, sure, whatever, but stock will be the higher priced cars, or the sought after cars. 2020, that's not the case. 2020, the past 2 years, we've seen that the higher dollar cars have been slightly restored but modified. 3S motors, ITBs, or
S2000 engine.
F20 swaps. Those are the ones that are going for the big dollar.
You make a really good point, because until you said that, I thought the same thing, that a stock or close to stock Corolla would be worth the most, but you're absolutely right. The ones that have been fetching the highest dollars have been really modified.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're resto mods.
Yeah.
Which has made me like, okay, I can now really fuck my car up, and I think I should be okay. I'm just kidding. I'm not selling my car. My girlfriend knows that too. And so I think with a higher dollar entry into this chassis, that's our current reality, and that's our reality going forward. And those kinds of owners, they expect that kind of. I think I from what I've seen, they have a higher level of expectation of how a car is to be built, and if they don't understand roll of life, they're going to throw their hissy fits. I know you've seen that. Your amount putting these cars together on a daily basis, because a lot of these guys that have these big dollars to throw these cars, they might come from different chassis. They might come from building Evos. They might come from building S2000s. They might come from building 350Zs. Those cars, those are relatively speaking, Amazon Prime cars. Maybe reach out to right hand or rhdjapan.com, but still, like, it's fairly cookie cutter. Whereas Corolla, it can be cookie cutter when you look at it, but like the nuances of getting it to pass smog or getting the rear end to work, it's not like how it is for a 350Z.
No, I would completely agree, because right when you said that, I have in my mind they're more willing to put time and money into the chassis. And I would say part of that is because both of those guys also own classic Datsun also.
Oh, they know the game then. So they come from Datsuns. They know how Corollas work. So all right. Yeah, they're fine.
So like a lot of times I'll say like, hey, I'm sorry, this, and this, and they'll give a sigh, but they'll say like, hey, I get it. It's old car. I get it. Yeah.
And then you don't get that guy who might have come from a Porsche. Like,
yeah,
I'm not trying to throw anybody on the bridge or on the bus.
I get it. Like, it's tough. A new Corolla owner who has not come from something classic, who has a modern car and then goes to Corolla, that's an uphill battle to like understand.
And so the people that hype up Corollas and talk big game about like, oh man, the running Corolla at a track event. Ooh, there's one here. It's amazing. Like there's more to it than just it being there. It's the respect that like maybe the owner that has had to take on to keep you at the track. Excuse me. Too much beer. But they don't glamorize the hardships of Corolla ownership. Like Noriaro, I think he's big Corolla guy. He just picked one up. I think with the wrong motor though.
Again, right?
The beans.
Yeah.
But he's probably a big reason why Corollas are really sought after, because he talks it up big time. And now most recently, the Donut Media guy, he picked one up. And he picked up a 5-figure one. And it needs some work. I'm looking forward to see what they do with that on their YouTube, because they did one episode last week about it. About like the
buying someone else's project car.
Exactly.
Yeah, I saw that video too.
And that was a $10,000 Corolla. And it still has some things that need to be worked on.
Or they made a list of things to work on.
Oh yeah, they don't know what else. They didn't do a compression test. Come on.
You know what? You brought up a good point that I want to touch on. Because this chassis is getting more and more popular and more hype, I see a lot of people jumping onto YouTube or like jumping onto social.
Hey guys, I just bought a Hachiroku 886.
Here's what I want to say is like, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Enjoy the Corolla.
But but like to be a part of this community, you need to give back in some way.
Mm-hmm.
In any small little way, you need to give back to be a part of this community. That's just how it is. And that's the only, how many podcast guests I've said it is like, if you want this community to survive, and if you want these cars to survive, all of us need to give back a little bit, and all of us need to stick together.
Like, so that's a great point to make, because it's something that I've recently, as the past maybe 3 to 5 years, I've come to understand that it's very important for us to like drive home of what it means for us to be Corolla owners as the older crowd now. For us in our 30s now, near 30s. And we need to give back. There's a lot of us that are in our near 30s now that have the elitist, mindset that, we're better than everyone else, which they probably are, in, some respect. And good for them for that. Round of applause for them. But they still, like, they didn't get there by themselves. I didn't get here where I'm at now with, my piece of shit by myself. We need to be a lot more welcoming for those that are interested in these cars, that have that drive and that passion to do whatever they want with these cars, as long as they enjoy it. They should stick around, because that's how we have things like Battle Garage. They're great. Like, I love, even though they might be a little higher priced than whatever else is out there, eBay. But they're here. They're local in California. Okay, I'm talking about California folks now. That they have parts in stock that we might need. Like, you see me a couple of times this past year, just come in randomly.
More than a couple of times. But that's all part of having a Corolla. So
yeah. Like, hey, like, I need some rod bolts, and they had the rod bolts, and it's like, yes. And if I had to order the rod bolts elsewhere, it might have been questionable. They might have been out of stock.
For AC rod bolts.
AC rod bolts. They might have taken a couple weeks from China or something. We have, these sort of shops that we do support.
Yeah. I was going to say Grant's a real Corolla guy too.
Yes.
Like, you can tell because he has two and one of them doesn't run. So,
dude, no, like Grant's legit. And he, like, I'm kind of following his path with building a motor, and then trying to, the whole, putting wiring, aftermarket ECU and doing it yourself. Because that's what I'm trying to do right now. And that's legit. And he did it years before I did. And I look up to him for that. And he started Battle Garage. That's amazing. And then, like, guys like yourself, like, you're here, helping folks out with their cars that, they might not have the time or energy to do it, but, they might have pockets, which I think is fair for a Corolla owner to have. And if they like the car, they don't have to have the same, background of being a fucking high school kid that we were. If they like the car, they like the car. If they liked Initial D, shoot, like, I liked Initial D. You liked Initial D. This car is your Initial D car. And, like, so those elitists that are, like, out there, there's some things that, like, they might not like and might be resistant against, but like, if they're not here, you guys are not here, then we don't have that support for, when we come into problems, like myself, like me building my motor, having Battle Garage in Fremont. I live in Fremont. That was amazing. And, like, I want to pass it on and keep that going.
Yeah, that's tough, because I was going to say the next closest thing to Battle Garage is Flows in Ireland.
Dude, yes.
So imagine that, like, sourcing stuff from, totally another country,
especially with coronavirus right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then totally, like, shout out to Flows, because they're doing big things too.
They came out of nowhere, felt
Yeah.
like. And that's respect.
Yeah.
That's so much respect what they're doing. Hell yes. And I wish Battle Garage success like that, because, dude, we need more of this.
I completely agree. And then just to reiterate what I said, and then how many other podcast guests have reiterated, is that the only way we're all going to make this thing survive is by sticking together.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think what new Corolla owners have advantage these days that we didn't was the accessibility to parts, to knowledge, to the people, and they take it for granted.
I was going to say the reason I was on Craigslist so much was because there was no other way to do it. There was no Facebook group, there was no Facebook marketplace. Battle Garage was still like fledgling at that point.
It was just an idea in 2009. I don't think it was even an idea.
So like back in the
Or
day,
12.
like everything, well, today everything's only a click away. Like Yahoo auctions, you can have that in English
Kruger.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah. But completely agree was that back when we first started, meeting people face to face and shaking hands and going on Craigslist, that was the only way to do it.
You know what? So segueing to the future of what Corolla ownership would be like, might be like, it might get worse.
Why do you say worse? And how do you define worse?
Worse as in the availability of online retails, availability of price cutting. It's going to get worse that some resellers might find what's available for, this chassis, this motor, this and that, and undercut others. Whereas those others that, found it first, made the prices first, they they should be rewarded for doing so. That reward should be, to a certain extent, worth their time and effort, them putting that research into, making that happen. If they're not and they're undercut altogether, what was the point of them doing that in the first place? And worse, going forward is, hey, what happens when we can't find any more distributors for $20?
I agree with that. And then here's how we can help things change. I agree that as we move forward, majority of the general population is more price conscious. So they'd rather go for the least or cheapest cost option.
That's what I think is going to happen. That's why I think things are going to get worse, because those that try to cater to our shit, they're not going to want to stick around.
Yeah. Here's how we can change it. And it's one of the principles that I learned just self-studying in business also is that to strengthen your brand and your depth of relationship with your community.
Yeah.
So in my mind, for example, I know like Impulse in Japan, they're making reproduction body panels.
Those roofs and the quarter panels, it's amazing. And the hatches, holy shit.
So like, because I know Impulse of Japan is the innovator of those parts, I will support them 1,000 times more than I will support the knockoff for whatever company decides to knock off body panels or whatever Impulse is making. I will support the main source because I know that if I don't support them,
they're not going to be around.
They're not going to be around.
No.
And then who else is going to make new stuff or reproduction stuff?
We'll have the eBay people that are today for the next 20 years. And we might need other solutions to problems that will come for the next 20 years. But if we don't support the people that are here now for the ride while we're going through the next 20 years to continue to look for things and solutions for whatever problems we may come up or we do come up with, we don't support them, they're not going to be around.
Or here's another good point. You think that eBay or Amazon.com seller is going to know your weirdo Corolla question?
No.
They're just there to sell the part. They're not there to like give you support for the chassis.
No. And so like they might come to the dark ages of the 2010s and 12s of what we had experienced.
Dude, you know what? You're absolutely right. Where if we don't.
The only 86 parts in eBay that I remember in 2012 might have been the strut bar.
Yeah, pretty much, man. God, I don't even remember. There was like no parts on eBay back
There's
then.
keychains. Yeah, there's keychains.
Yeah.
This is a great podcast so far. I hope listeners are enjoying.
I appreciate it, man, and I appreciate you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I was really worried. I talk a lot of shit.
I like to hear the whole spectrum of Corolla ownership. So especially for you. Come on, man. We said it in the beginning. You were my first Corolla friend in the community. So
I guess you're welcome. I thank you for your friendship too. Dude, it's been a long time, man. That's like 8 years.
exactly 8 years. More than that. More than 8 years because I didn't have a Corolla when I met you. I was buying Corolla parts for my Celica.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 years.
Probably 10.
Dude, I was on my way to a family reunion that day.
Oh, wow.
That was fun. It's been fun. I'm looking forward to many more years.
One other common question I ask podcast guests is, how can we help motorsports these days? Because a lot of the younger generation are just not interested in it. And here's my take on it is a lot of the young guys, they want a aesthetically wild car. So they want to do the show and stance thing, but they don't want to come to a drift or a track event. And even for me, that's one thing I wanted to do is
You should get into drifting, dude.
do like a overnight at Grange, right? Because that is the last shit, West Coast real deal, Corolla Matsuri.
It's cool. Corolla Matsuri got a little politicized for its reasons. It's a great point, actually. I don't like how it got politicized. Politicized in the way that some people just didn't like other people. Happens. How to get young people interested in motorsports? I've asked myself this because, when I grew up, I always liked cars, but that was because my neighbors had cars and race cars growing up. My next door neighbor, literally to my left of my house, I grew up with him building sprint cars and micros.
Oh,
dirt track cars.
Yeah.
And then my other neighbor across the street from me, he was a shop teacher for my other high school, and he was building lowriders, the lowrider hopper cars, chop tops, American muscle cars, a lot of that stuff. So that was my upbringing from when I was born till even to this, till about maybe 10 years ago. So I went to a couple of dirt circle track racings, and I got in motorsports because it's this is exciting, it's loud, these are going fast, this is cool. And when I was in 6th grade or 5th grade, I got into initial D, so cartoons maybe, and so that answer would be make cartoons and have people grow up with hot rods and muscle cars and sprint cars, which is not ideal. But I think the best example of the past 5 years has been watching Grange evolve. Accessibility to racetracks. And having young people want to go to racetracks. Young people want to go to Grange and watch Super D or their favorite professionals just mash out at Grange, because Grange is an accessible track for anybody. You just need a car that has a lock diff and maybe a knee brake, and you can have fun at Grange for $50. That is cheap.
And then shout out to Andy's Tires. Andy's Tires is there all the time to change tires for essentially very, very low cost for you. So you don't need to bring 20 wheels with you.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I think that's the hard answer, is having a racetrack that's accessible to people. We had that at in Tracy, the Altamont, but that got politicized because it got shut down because people weren't following the rules. They are you familiar with Altamont?
I think Altamont's before my time.
So this was when I was 12 years old or 11 years old, and my dad was involved with the local politics. He still is, kind of. Oh man, I think I might have shut this down. No, it wasn't me. It was just people being stupid. But so Altamont was a racetrack that we have local to NorCal for really cheap. It was originally a circle track racetrack. It had a inner circle that was really small, like a quarter-mile circle, and then had an outer circle with a bank. It was a half-mile circle. And for a period from like 2005 through 2008, it had drifting. And for those 3 years, that's how NorCal got experience with drifting, along with the skid pad events and stuff. And the locals started getting upset because the drifting was making too much noise, and it was bringing the rowdy class of people. And they got shut down because drifting was essentially banned at one point, and Fat Lace had drift events scheduled for the rest of the year, and they weren't drift events; they were time attack events, and also vehicle maneuver challenge event. Wasn't drifting, but it was to judge how well you were handling a car at its limits, not drifting. But because it broke the rules of drifting, because it essentially was drifting. That it got itself banned, and then the track eventually shut down because the neighbors that lived at the top of the hill of Altamont complained and kept complaining, and the people that went to City Hall to try to fight the complaint, they made themselves look bad. I think, like even I even emailed the person that was supposed to make that judgment call, and he was my dad's I don't know, mentor in terms of politics. Yeah, that was a long tangent. Anyways,
But I completely agree with you. Part of the youth not being interested in motorsports is that there's getting fewer and fewer venues to do motorsports at. And I think that's why we see all this, I'm going to say it, like bullshit, like sideshows and this bullshit in the street.
yeah,
Because there's no place to do it.
no,
People want to do it, but where are you going to?
they want to showboat. We all want to. I like showboating. Shit.
No, dude, I totally get it. Like, completely transparent, like fucking around in your car. I get it. But if there's no place to safely do it, where are you going to do it?
I do it down the street.
Oh.
I'm kidding. No, but like if I were a shithead kid like today, that's what would happen.
Yeah, I mean, if there were more low-cost skid pad events, we could keep all this stuff off the street.
You know, so I think what we're missing out right now is the accessibility of those current venues.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
bringing the kids to those venues when it's available, and at a profit too, because those venues, they don't exist for a nonprofit. They want to make money. Like, you're here, want to make money. That's we don't do things for free. And like we have Sonoma. It's a great place for them to do, their hood rat shit. Hashtag.
It's tough. Even Sonoma has noise decibel restriction at this point.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's tough. Drifting's tough at Sonoma right now.
Don't they still have the Wednesday night things though?
I'm not sure.
No, I think they do.
They do, but there's still like if there's limits on anything, it gets harder and harder, right? Like to have a decibel limit, to have this, and this limit.
So that's one if that is available. The other recent one is Stockton. They've opened up. They've been having a skid pad like event. They've also now have opened up like their go-kart track for drifting.
We're in Stockton?
Yeah.
What track is this?
Stockton Speedway.
Oh shit.
But
okay.
they've had a go-kart track. They kind of did it. They did Adams kart style track where they have run groups on the straightaway and do the turns, come back, wait in line. I think that's about it right now. But those are far away for Bay Area kids though, and not really cool either.
The closest one I'm really familiar with is Thunder Hill. They have 2 skid pads.
Thunderhill's far though.
I know that's what makes it even more least accessible.
Yeah.
But here's another point too: is that Chris Van, who has been on the podcast, he said there's this one gas station
Gas station.
getting into Thunder Hill. The gas station owner says, "Dude, if Thunder Hill Raceway was not here, this town would just dry up." Because imagine like us people from the Bay Area are driving the 3 hours up to T Hill, and we
spend a lot of money for these weekends.
Like, I 100% agree. I support the hotels. I buy food at the Walmart. I buy food at the restaurant. Buy gas at the gas station. There's probably a lot more stuff I'm missing.
Yeah.
And there would be no point for me to make that 3-hour drive up there unless Thunder Hill Raceway was up there.
Dude, I've done this 3 times now. The Grange trip to the Mojave.
And there would be no reason to go to Grange unless that track was there.
Yeah. Like the event itself is usually between $50 to $75 for the whole day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. drifting. And it's great. I like that. Okay, $50, $75. That's not much because I spend, maybe close to $300 for the truck alone. I spend maybe $100, $200 on gas. I spend probably about that on food and drinks.
Food and lodging is like way, way, way past that track fee.
Yeah. And it's like, that's why I think for us, like, it's might be cheap and accessible for us. Well, to what's reasonable for us at least. But I do see your point though. Like, the younger crowd's not excited. Like, I'm trying to get my cousins involved with motorsports, and they're mostly just wanting to play with their Xbox or whatever.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think the younger generation is not excited to get into motorsports?
This is a great point. So, I recently started forcing my little cousins to come out to my house at least to like just work on things, because for me to get into motorsports or whatever thing I wanted to get involved in, I forced myself. I lunged myself at the things I was interested in because that was me. I got into Corollas because I got into I got into drifting randomly because I saw drifting on the NASCAR 500 game when I was like 9 or 10 years old. I saw drifting and and the video game said the faster way around the corner. I was like, that doesn't make sense. I watched it. It looked cool, and I bugged my mom for 50 cents, and she gave me 50 cents, and I tried it, and I did it, and I was like, I'm turning the opposite way around the corner. I'm going faster. This doesn't make sense, but this is cool, I guess. And I went home that day and found drifting.com, and oh, this is a thing. And I found Initial D, and it's like, oh, wow, a whole cartoon and a manga. Like, oh, I got so deep into it. Like, I'm huge Initial D fanboy because of that. And then I got into I got into the video game, and that was cool. Like, my kids in my junior high were into it, and I lunged myself into the video game, and I lunged myself into like the older kids, and they showed me the ways and the arcades to go to because they were the older classmen, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And it's like, but that was me. So that was my oh, I got into something, I dove into it. That was my personality. My cousin, on the other hand, they're very passive, and so what I've now done is I'm forcing them to come to me. I'm telling their parents because, their parents don't know what to do because all they want to do is play video games. And so right now I'm telling them, bring them to my house, especially with COVID, just wear your mask, keep 6 feet, please. And, I'm teaching them how to weld right now. I have a little, shitty, Harbor Freight MIG welder, but, we're all, welding some things together for a race car and for some other projects. But they're enjoying it. I asked them, how do you enjoy this? It's passing the time really easily, and a lot's going by, and this is fun. And I asked them, you guys don't really get this much, do you? And no, they never really grew up with that. So I'm keep doing that with my cousins at least, because I don't think they just had that exposure. Maybe their exposure to video games was just so stimulating and so awesome maybe initially that they just got sucked into it for years. That for them to do something else that, it took them a lot of errors because they don't know how to weld, and I just kind of, threw the mask and the gloves and the MIG welder at them. It's like, all right, you saw me do it, you try it. A lot of popcorns everywhere. But I was like, no, that's fine. You're going to learn. You're going to suck at first. And they got the hang of it. It's like, oh, you're doing great. And they're getting the hang of it now. Kind of. But, whatever they're welding, it looks like shit, but it's holding. They're enjoying it.
Yeah, I think you made a really good point about you're going to learn and you're going to suck at first.
Mm-hmm.
I think, man, I hate to say it, but like for a lot of the newest generation, they see
instant gratification.
Oh man, I hate to say it. Yeah.
Yes.
Like going back to being a Corolla owner when we were just first starting, I think you went in with the expectation that you were going to suck and you were going to get made fun of.
Yeah.
We both went in 2 feet into that, like,
we're going to suck.
I'm going to suck at this. My car's not going to look very good and people are going to make fun of me. Yeah. Yeah.
Cheers to that. And I hope that's the future. That's, like the old head, the old dudes that you work with that building these cars, having the mindset like, you know what? Old car problems happen. It sucks. Yes, it sucks. But it is to be expected because it's an old car. You don't know what's going to happen. If you have, low compression on cylinder 3, and then, next week you keep driving it. Oh, you're blowing oil now. Well, that shit sucks. And shit happens.
You made one good point about accessibility. Like, fortunately, your cousins have you to get them into this.
Oh, I'm forcing them into this at this point. Their moms want them out of their fucking, TV screens.
But I mean, like, for me, I didn't have anyone around me to say like, hey, this is autocross, or hey, this is drifting. Like, let's go do this. I didn't have anyone in my life that introduced me to that.
Mm-hmm.
So accessibility is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because my first open track day, I essentially like jumped 2 feet in and said like, well, I don't have any friends that do this, so I'm just going to take it upon myself to do it myself.
And that's role of life. Like, you're going to accept whatever comes with this. And I think that's very commendable for you. And
appreciate it, man.
It's so legit, dude. Because, I see those kids that do that, and, dude, like, I try to help them as much as I can. And I let them know, like, what you're doing is, like, really fucking cool.
I agree with that. So the newest generation of Corolla owners, when I see that they've really put the effort towards like this lifestyle or this chassis, like I see like, okay, this is the dude, like I'm gonna help him out, like I see he's already put the work in. Yeah.
Or they're trying and they're failing. It's like look, like I'm gonna be here to walk you through it. You're sucking, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So like I have a customer and a friend who pretty close to 5-figure GTS Corolla hatch, and I mean that's the price of it. And I remember him telling me the story of how he bought that car, how he got the money to buy that car. And he was like, "Yeah, dude, I was like $2,000 short, so I just spent the next week and I just DoorDash hella hard to get this."
But dude, no way, really?
So, but because I heard that from him, because I heard that story, I was like, okay, you're in. Like I 100% respect you for that.
Even though I'm gonna tell you this is a terrible decision, but I'm supporting you.
But I mean, it's that like
the grit,
dude.
They're trying.
Yeah,
they really
yeah.
want this. And it's like, you know what? That's half. Dude, that's 9% of Corolla ownership.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Where's he at now?
He, dude, his name is Matt, but his middle name is Takumi.
Legit middle name is Takumi?
Legit middle name is Takumi. He lives, he's been out to the NorCal meets a couple of times, but because he got accepted to college in Hawaii, so he's been in Hawaii like pre-COVID. But yeah, good for him, man. I think that translates over like,
hey,
like if you're willing to put in work
I have some Hawaii friends if you want me to hook them up with them.
Well, here's what I'm trying to say. If you're willing to put in work for Corolla, imagine like you're probably willing to put in work for like school and like the rest of your life.
Look, for me to like know his story and like I trust you. I trust like your judgment on like people and these sort of things because we've known each other for so long now, and for you to tell me the story of this kid, it's like if you don't want to deal with him, it's like just send him to me. Like I'll help him out. I'll tell him he's stupid and whatever, but like I'll tell him where to go, and I'll spend a couple hours of my day to help him out because shit, when I get off work, I jerk off, whatever, but then also like I'm willing to like extend my contacts because if he's from Hawaii, like I got some friends in Hawaii that might be down too. Shit.
Dude, it's hilarious. You say that you'll what's it called? Like you'll make fun of him because a lot of these newer guys, like when they tell me something they've done or a mistake they made, like I'll laugh in their face, but then after that I'll say like, okay, you tried, man. Come on, I'll help you out now.
Yes. Because no, like I am that kid. Like I blew forehead gaskets because I had gunk in my head vault holes. So it's like I know their pain, and I know like, and I was really struggling. Like that was my car to get to work, but I took the bus and my bike. So like I'm down to help those high school kids because like they're really trying. They're really, really trying. And I've been in their shoes before, and I really, really feel for that. And it's like, you know what? Like, I'm supportive of that.
No, 100%. Like if I seen that you really like put forth the effort, like yeah, man, I'll laugh at you at first, but yeah, come on, man, I'll help you out after that. I'm laughing at them, not at them, but because I've been in that situation before.
Yes.
I've been in that situation 5 times before you. This is your first time doing it, then
I'm laughing with you because
I'm laughing with
you're going to
you.
laugh at this 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're going to understand my laughter once you get over this.
Yeah. Totally agree.
And I think that's another big thing about the generation gap is when people laugh at someone's hardships, it's not because we're belittling people. It's because we connect with you. We understand the hardships that you're going through.
Or I was gonna say we've been there before multiple times.
Yes, yeah. But it's hard to convey that over a ha 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 on text or comments or whatever shit.
I think that's one thing. Like it's so different over the internet versus in real life. Because I'll laugh at you in real life too, but it's a different because like
we're in person.
We're in person.
We're gonna work through this together.
Yeah. Where it's different on the
online, it's like, oh man, fuck me, I guess. Shit, I suck. Fuck these cars. Fuck these people. I'm gonna sell my car on Craigslist.
Yeah, I guess that's one thing that's just like tough about the internet, right?
It is.
You lose so much context.
So much, and yeah.
Because we've the first Friday we meets, we've laughed at plenty of people in person.
Yes.
But then
look at that strut bar. Or what, did you make that manifold by yourself?
So one particular first Friday
but that's tight. No.
that I particularly remember was that we had a new owner with his SR5 that was like missing all the emission stuff. And I remember someone came over and it was like, "Oh, buddy, man, you're missing a lot." But
yeah.
But right after that, he said, "Come on, let's look at my car. I'll show you all the stuff you're missing."
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's so much context that just taken like out of place. Which I'm grateful for us to have as a monthly thing to like, yes, you'll see the effect, the laugh. Maybe the punishment of being a new Corolla owner because you're just new, and it's not punishment, it's just acceptance because we've been there before, but it's not like we're laughing at you because you suck. No, you're supposed to suck, and you're supposed to suck because you're new. And you know what? We're glad you're sucking because that's part of being a Corolla owner. Especially if you're new, you're not supposed to know how things work. There's a lot of nuances. A lot of quirks. And if you know a quirk or nuance that we don't know, it's like, oh, like you might have figured something else new that you can share with everyone else, or you might have been taught by someone that knows their shit.
Yeah, I think that's the greatest thing is like the newest owners of Corolla teaching me stuff. I mean, I think that's absolutely great.
Yeah. When they figure things out, it's like right now I'm learning Speeduino. So I think this is the future of Corolla ownership for the next 10, 20 years. Because, Mega Square is now near the price of aftermarket ECUs. You can get a Link for $900, mid-grand. You can get a Haltech for the same price. Mega Square, it's like damn near that, $700, $800. Then we have Speeduino, which is essentially a similar thing of Mega Squirt, but a lot more. It gets rid of like the chassis specific or car specific stuff. It uses the same tuning platform as Mega Squirt Tuner Studio, but at a third of the price. You can build a Speeduino for 4ag if you know what you're doing. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you can try and do it. $300 and run ITBs, coil and plugs. I think that's because that's the future. Because with my electronics right now, the reason why I'm now like opting for like complete aftermarket wiring ECU is because like my current ECU, it works. Like I can do redline and hit 14.7 AFR, or even run a little rich, which is fine for my application. I just don't want to blow my motor. That's all I'm asking. But because my wiring is so old, it's giving me some feedback when I hit redline under load, and it's preventing me from being able to drive how I want to because it's randomly bogs, and that's now due to the 30, 40-year-old electronics. I can't fix those one by one because I've already done 3 of those. I've had to fix 2 injectors. I've had to fix 2 distributor plugs. And I know something else is going out right now, and it's like I'm tired of it because it's why should I keep fixing a 40-year-old harness when I can do something aftermarket? And I think Speeduino is like the perfect option for cheap Corolla owners going forward, if it can be done right and cheaply, which I'm still trying to figure out. I'm talking to some dude from Canada right now who's done it before and trying to pick his brain, because if I can do it like $400, that's a lot cheaper than $800 from Mega Squared, and you're still using 4-year-old electronics.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's the future. Hopefully it works. Fuck, where was I going with this? That's too much beer. Because dude, like I know like how it is being broke. I was that broke kid. Like I was working $8 an hour trying to fund my Corolla habit and have a girlfriend. That wasn't cool. And so I know Mickey Mouse builds. I've done head gasket jobs on the $30 head gasket kit from eBay. Yeah. So I know that struggle, especially going forward with these old electronics. It's just old. Connections go bad. You don't really know how they go bad or where they go bad. It's just you start getting check engine light problems. It's like, man, this shit sucks. Time for aftermarket electronics. That's expensive. So maybe we can work on a Speeduino swap.
16 valve is the hardest because we have all the weirdo connectors.
Yep.
Like we have Japanese connectors from a fax machine.
Is that real?
I don't know if it's exactly from a fax machine, but I know Swing Biz Danny was saying like we have some oddball like connectors you're not gonna find
Yeah.
on anything else.
Yeah. I started swapping mine out because I don't trust my connections.
What I'm getting at is like 16 valve stuff is like so unique. It's not like 20 valve or beams.
Yeah, you can pick up from a Camry.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you're right.
So that's why no one's got a 16 valve harness on the market right now because our stuff is so weird.
And there's a difference between supercharged and blue top, red top, and there's even differences between red top, blue top,
Oh shit, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
and even the difference between small port red top and big port red top. And then when you get to that point, the customization might be like, well, does this person want coil and plugs, or do they want to keep the distributor, or does this person want to keep their smog equipment or not, or they plan on doing wideband or not? Do they want to do a hall sensor, from the crank, or a hall sensor from the cam, or both?
That's a big part of it too, is like there's so many permutations of 16 valve that what do you want?
It's so different from Miatas. Like there's plug and play ECU kits for Miatas for days. There's nothing for Corollas, but it's only because of those variables. Which like I'd like so do you remember when I had my own business with the solo weight?
Yes. Yeah, the tail light company.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like I'd like to bring that back with if I can figure out Speeduino for Corollas, and that would be cool. So if I can make that work, that'd be cool. And if I don't, at least I'll just share whatever knowledge I find because my goal is to keep as many cars on the road as possible. If I can make a little bit of profit off that, that'd be tight. But if not, I'm okay with that too.
It's great being a car guy in 2020. What's to come? What's to come? What's
Oh, this
new?
is on. Cheers.
Yeah.
A lot of kids that grew up on YouTube is a generation that I don't think has really hit the market just yet. Because a lot of the guys are just speculating right now. The anecdotal take that I can say that we experience here in the Bay Area is the price of Miatas. First generation Miatas in particular. Do you remember how much first generation Miatas were going for when we were in high school?
I don't, but I can imagine like throwaway cheap.
$500, $800.
And now that's you can add a zero to that at this point, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like I did not see this coming. I did not. But we were always told on the forums and today on YouTube is, Miata is always the answer. And I think they're the ones that are picking up the price of Miatas because they know that's what works. That's what they've been told. And these kids probably have some pocket money. And we kind of now see that with the newer generation of Corolla guys. They see Noriaro say, Corollas are great. They see Donut Media now say Corollas are great. They see, the smoking tire guy say Corollas are amazing. That's going somewhere. And for us old guard, we've known Corollas are awesome, but I don't think we've known the value to fun that they provided that the new generation coming up wants to experience as well too. Because we've seen recently the past 10 years, OEMs go for higher and higher horsepower, and they did. The Hellcat going 700 plus, the new Mustang going, or the new high end Mustang at least going 600 plus, 700 plus. The new Corvettes, the high end Corvettes going 700 plus. But yeah, that's cool. But what really keeps car people around enjoying their cars is what makes them fun. If they're dropping 80 grand plus for a 700 horse, and it's great they have that number, but we don't really see that those people are having fun. We just see them flossing. We see them like, oh yeah, I'm the cool guy. I have a Hellcat, whatever, or I have a twin turbo, whatever V8. That's cool. But we see guys like Noriaro Alexi having fun with piece of shit Corolla. Oh, that might be something, and he's having big raves and reviews over that fun factor.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You have to put a lot of money in a Corolla no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of money you put in will not equate to the amount of fun you have with that car.
Yeah. If you put it in 70 grand or 80 grand into a new Hellcat or whatever Corvette, you'll probably have just as much fun as a Corolla dude that threw maybe 15 grand at his car. If not, that Corolla dude's probably having more fun because his tires that he's burning $100 a tire or $50 a tire, whereas if you're burning 325s, it's like $200-$300 a tire. I think the new generation that are coming up of age are realizing that, and I think that's what's really pushing the price of Corollas. Like I originally thought the I thought it was a fluke that Corollas were going for 20, 30 grand. I thought that was ridiculous. But that was 2 years ago
Yeah.
when
And then now how many have gone for that price now?
a lot.
Yeah.
And now it's sustainable. And I did not want to see this happening because I always thought the Corollas were a $2,000, $3,000 piece of shit box. I have fun in my car. I just didn't realize that many other people would value that much into these cars as well too. And I think that's the folks that can afford that and want that satisfaction. They're coming to you. For the cars to be built, and they're spending big dollars for their builds because that's what they want. Because they're like I mentioned earlier before this, starting this, the kids like us that grew up on Initial D, we're now in our 30s, and we didn't have the money to throw out a Corolla, even if it was $1,500 or $2,000, back 10, 15 years ago. They still have that want, that desire of, I want a Corolla. I want to be like Takumi. It has probably evolved a little bit, but it's still there. And that's what they want. They're going to drop their money on it. Like, you look at, like, the best comparison I can say is Mustangs, like the 60s and 70s Mustangs. They were shit boxes. They are shit boxes, in my opinion. They don't even make 200 horse with the V8s. They're piece of shit V8s. But, when you look at them, it's like, oh, that's a cool Mustang. And they probably dropped a lot of money on it because, oh, that's a cool Mustang. That's the new owners going to be going forward for us. My opinion. And so far, I'm being shown right because Bring Your Trailer's showing these shallow-ass owners that don't know what they're buying, but they're spending the money.
I have to think about that one for a little bit.
Am I wrong? Am I right? Maybe. I don't know. Like I thought the original meme, the 32K Corolla for an eBay built Corolla, but he did drop a lot of money on shops and getting the motor put together and stuff, and maybe the labor involved. It makes sense that it came out to that much because when you bring shop labor involved in a price, it's hard to account for. I agree with that. Old guard me says, no, dude, you do this shit yourself. But that's old guard me having the experience I've had. These guys that are getting these Corollas don't have that old guard experience or the time to put into it like as I have. And I understand that. And it's interesting to kind of see it, play out in front of me. Because here I am. I got to shut my ass up because, well, that was not a fluke. There have been other Corollas going for 20 grand, 25 grand. It's like, all right, that was not a one-time thing. I'm being very humble right now. Because facts are facts. There are people out there that really want this car, and they've what's the term? They drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I don't fault them for that because these cars are great. Are they $30,000 great? I don't know. I don't have the kind of money to throw around. If I did have that kind of money to throw around, oh yes, I would because I love this car. But I'm not in that position, so I can't comment from that perspective.
Yeah, I would say for me it's a tough call. I'm optimistic for the future of the Corollas and the Corolla community. I'm genuinely optimistic for it, but I don't know what the future really holds.
I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
Because it's like this is the best route the Corollas like it's unrealistic for me to expect things to have stayed the same, the prices stay the same going forward from when I first bought the car. Very unrealistic because I would have loved to when I have kids in the future to have the same experiences I've had, but for them to expect that have that expectation for them with a Corolla, that's not realistic at all. But whatever the chassis that is for them, they have that. and for me to expect things to stay the same going forward, that's stupid.
I would really agree with that because I know a lot of, like you would say, the old guard owners who would be like, man, I remember I only paid this much for this or this much to have this done. And now prices are, so expensive nowadays. I have a tough time with that because it's like, I don't know, man. Did you really expect stuff to stay the
It stayed the
same
same.
price the
You
whole
would
time?
jump to another chassis that was cheaper.
And I was gonna say, like, a lot of people have.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, a lot of people have jumped to a different chassis. And I totally get it too. Like I'm sick of spending this big amount of money for, you know, comparably little improvement on this car when I could just spend.
Oh God, get an FRS. Salvage $8,000 all day.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're at that point where a okay Corolla is a lot more money than an FRS or a 350Z. Okay Corolla that still needs work.
It might have a vacuum leak and a check engine light. I'm gonna look at that. I'm not gonna look at it. I'm gonna leave that alone. This is a weird point, weird period, because I'm a moderator of the group, and I hear the old guard. I understand their pains and like they're wanting to talk shit about like how things are, but at the same time, it's like this is reality. We really have people paying like 5 figures for a decent Corolla.
Or not even decent Corolla that still needs work.
Yes, and it's mind blowing still for myself because I have a little cousin who's got a Corolla. He just graduated high school. He picked.
Wait. He has a Corolla and he just graduated high school.
Yeah, I mean his family situation's tough for him because he wants to keep his car, but his parents are separated and he is trying to make life easy for them. And him having 2 cars and one car he barely drives, the Corolla. It doesn't make sense for him, and I understand that. I'm gonna fix it up for him to make it look decent, drive decent, so he can get a good amount for it when he sells it. Because he never really got into it, which is partly my fault, but it is what it is. Whereas his older brother is like all about it. His older brother's not selling his car. I hope. Knock on wood. I love Corollas.
This isn't Jeremy, is it?
Mm-hmm. That's my cousin.
Yeah.
And his younger brother got a coupe GTS.
Oh shit.
That thing's clean. Straight body, just rattle can black. Throw a Mako at it, easy 9K car.
Shit, I hate to say it, but like a lot of these Corollas, like aesthetically looking good, but you don't see like the secrets underneath.
Yeah. Now, I'm gonna make sure the secrets are okay. Yeah, it's I don't know. Like I might sabotage his posting so he doesn't get what he wants, so he keeps his car. I'm kidding. No, it's he's the kind of owner that likes to be the cool guy. And
you know what's funny? When we were Corolla owners, Corolla was not cool.
No, it wasn't.
Like you were, I felt like I was a loser. Like
yeah.
Like people didn't get what the car was. Girls hated me. Like, ew, why are you driving this old car? Dude, when we had Corollas, we were the losers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different now.
It's ridiculous.
I remember this girl I was dating at the time. She was like, when are you going to buy a new car?
Wow. I'm glad she's not around anymore.
I wish she was still around. No, I'm just kidding.
That's good riddance, man. I think anyone of us that has a significant other that is supportive of the hobbies we do is good.
That's another common theme throughout the podcast is like these older guys who have Corollas, your significant other has to be approving of it.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's not going to last.
Oh, here's another theme that I've seen with the dudes that have kids. Their kids love the Corolla. You know AVT?
Oh, yeah, of course.
So-
Yeah.
You know AVT and his kids that he has?
Yeah, both well, one's too young to know, but both those kids are like pumped for these cars.
Which is funny because
Yeah.
you see AVT, like, you know, he has a GTR. He has like 2 Saphiros. He has a right-hand drive S13.
2 Corollas.
And like a fucking, 2 Corollas now. And then like the Subaru, the right-hand, or no, some Subaru Turbo. And all his kids, they like, you know, when he drives a Corolla, like they fight over who gets to ride passenger. And it's like, they don't care about any of the other cars because that's what they grew up with, but they love the Corolla. It's like, I guess I'm keeping my car now. By the way, he might be selling his hatch, I think.
I wouldn't doubt it because he loves that coupe.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, he loves that coupe so much. Yeah.
I think he needs to downsize because he has a lot of cars.
Yeah.
We can do this offline.
Yeah. Offline. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
No, AVT is great. I love him.
Yeah. So one question you asked me before we started this podcast, you're like,
oh man, you're begging, or you're not begging, you're itching for this question. Why the fuck can I curse on this damn podcast?
yeah, don't we want to fucking monetize?
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought this up because the guy I sold my Supra to, I still keep in contact with him, and he asked me about recently, like, how did I get this idea for the podcast? Like, why I still host it. Yeah, the whole idea behind the podcast was never money. Like, I knew,
figured as much.
yeah, I knew at some point, like, I could monetize, like, you know, it was always a pipe dream. Like, maybe if I get enough viewers, I can get some money off of it. But it was never about money in the first place.
Huh. Is this an excuse to get friends to talk with you because you live in a garage? I'm kidding. Halfway.
Halfway.
So, dude, call me up, man. I love chatting like this. Shit.
So the reason for starting the podcast is different than the reason for continuing the podcast.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What was it starting off?
For the business.
For the
Autohaus. Like
for the business of monetizing?
Here's one way to look at it is like through the podcast, I have a worldwide reach. So if I wanted to, for example, sell product worldwide, the podcast is a platform for it.
It is.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Like, I actually was gonna get to that, is that this is a possible platform for folks that have deep pockets, that, you know, really want to know who their builder is, or, you know, who their shop is, to get a, you know, good understanding of, you know, what that person's like, personality wise at least. And you know, it's you know, the heyday, the grand golden times of Japan in the 80s and 90s. It was, you just talk to the shop owners and you develop relationships and become a friendship with the shop, and it goes hand in hand, because you know the person, and you know it's a shop, it's your shop. It's kind of hard to do that these days. Well, actually, no, it's easier to do that these days in form of podcasts.
I was going to say, like, I appreciate all my customers, and then majority of them, they'll come to me and be like, dude, you know why I support you? Because I know when I spend money with you, it's going to you, not some business or like some other dude, right? Yeah, so I get a lot of that from, a lot of my customers like understand, like really understand.
Dude, I underlined that earlier. Like, you came from a job with like honestly, like, if I was in the position where, you know, my work was so demanding and I only wanted to spend my weekends with my kids and, you know, my significant other and family, I had no time for my car, you are the person that would like to spend my money to, put my car together. Something like that.
I appreciate that, man.
Of course. Because I've known you, and I've known what you've, the risks you've taken to do this. Like, it's like when I made that post, like I knew like what you're doing. And I knew the kind of job you had, because I think I asked you before that. It's like, you're doing this full time, like, are you out of your mind? And I was so taken aback, but like I was so impressed because like you're doing it, and that's so much respect. Like, if I was in that position, like, I had no time to work on my car, which thankfully I do have time to work on my car, and I do work on my car. I hope I continue to work on my car. But if I didn't, then you're the person that I would go to.
So going to the reason why I continue this podcast to this day, I want to say my reasons for the podcast have kind of like ebbed and flowed and shifted in these like 2 years that I've hosted the podcast. Right now, I would say the reason I continue to host the podcast and why I'm so enthusiastic about it is that it brings the worldwide community together. Yeah, it's so great to...
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's so great to like bring people and their stories and their histories and their knowledge all together and document it all in one place. And for me to hear it firsthand. I love it.
Yeah, that's why I want to do this in person, by the way. Like, even though we have the coronavirus and the United States is not doing great with the coronavirus, and that's why me and Ziegler are doing social distancing. For the record, god damn it. Fuck, man, this shit sucks. But I agree with you. Like, it's like I like doing this. I'm very honored to be a part of this.
Oh,
like when I say like, I'm surprised that you took me on because I took a lot of shit. I'm more so honored because like I know like it's a small thing for you, but like, the guests you've had on and the stories you've shared it's in record, and I'm very appreciative and humbled to be a part of this record for you.
Likewise, man, I appreciate you being on the podcast. Like, not only because we've known each other for so long and because we're both NorCal Corolla guys, but also it's just like one more piece of that puzzle to like get the whole picture of worldwide Corolla ownership, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, one more piece of the puzzle, and I'm like trying to collect all the Pokemon. I want to collect all the puzzles of Corolla ownership.
It's great, dude. Yeah, I think what you've been doing so far, has been amazing.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing these out going forward.
And look forward to it because I have bigger dreams, bigger plans, and bigger guests in mind.
Sure.
But at the same time, even though I have bigger guests, I still love to interview local guys. So many people are like, dude, I don't know if I have that much to say. That's all part of Corolla ownership, man. If you had your Corolla for like one day.
What's it like?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, what is it like? I want to hear it. What's it like being a brand new Corolla owner in 2020? I want to hear that story, right?
Yeah, what's that perspective? Because, man, we come from like the early 2010s.
No Facebook, barely internet. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think so here's the great thing about Corolla ownership going forward is because the accessibility of understanding how great these cars are has gone so widespread. We might see more dudes that are on the fringe, like your last guy from Sweden. I forgot his name.
Oh, Martin.
Martin, yeah, and he was a legit Corolla dude. Like, from his story, that was tight. And I look forward to hearing others that come from the fringe as well, that have been obsessed with our cars, the cars that we have, and have gotten ownership and having their expectations fulfilled, and more so. I think that's cool.
Here's another thing. There's a lot of OG owners like Freddie, who's been doing it. Freddie and Mickey.
I think they're hoarders.
That, dude, their stories are going to get lost
Yeah.
That's really what hurts me is there's these lot of these like truly OG owners that because their story's not documented, because their knowledge isn't documented, all that stuff's gonna get lost. We're not gonna learn it. No one's gonna be able to learn it, and it's gonna get lost with them.
Yeah. I hope that's not the case. Do you want to get Nikki on here? Maybe.
Especially Nikki. I know last time Freddie told me he doesn't want to do it. Like Freddie's pretty. Anyway, the case is like the whole spectrum of owners, but especially those like owners who have been there even before day one.
I think we can make it work something out.
Let me know, man. I'd love to have both of those guys and any of these like OG owners, like triple
You had
OG.
Freddie on here?
He doesn't want to do the podcast.
He posts a lot.
That's why I'm curious. Like he posts a lot, but he doesn't want to.
Hey man, Freddie, if you listen to this shit, we're calling you out, man. Shit. I called you out earlier. Come on. Nah, dude, it's like you know, that's I think that's a general Bay Area thing that we take on from those that come before us. And we pay respect to those that come before us. And I think that just comes from the general helpful thing. Because I would definitely would not be where I am with my piece of shit. You know, finally building my own motor. That was hard. But I would not have had that, you know, hindsight for what it was like, you know, knowing what I was getting myself into, building it. If it wasn't for the guys that came before me, you know, building motors for me before and them showing me the ways of how to build a motor.
I think that's a big part of Bay Area culture too, is paying respect to those who came before you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a personal example is that I would not even attempt W series stuff without Turtle.
Wow. All right.
So I remember the Turtle versus W58
yeah,
on
the cartoon series.
Yeah. On Club4ag, the original
That was
Club4ag.
great. Yes.
And I remember meeting Turtle in real life and buying that toy cool bell housing off of him.
Oh wow, you bought that one. Okay.
Yeah. It's funny because
the night parts one?
Yeah. No. The Philippine one.
Oh, okay.
Because the night parts one is different than the
It's
Philippines
Australian,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I bought it. It went to two other people, and then finally Grant bought it. And because Grant bought it, it came back to me. But yeah, there's for me, there's people like Turtle, Bad Boy West that are like my OGs off of the Club4ag,
Mhm.
and like I sincerely pay respect to them because they like. For me, it's like those Turtle comics set the groundwork for where we're at today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because he made it look so funny, and it's like, oh, this funny guy can do it.
And then it's interesting, right? Like those guys did it in a different way, just like the Roll of Life podcast does it in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I totally respect. Yeah.
It's funny. Oh, when do you plan on posting this?
Couple at least 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did a Roll of Life podcast, and that was our last Roll of Life podcast, and that was over a year ago now.
Oh my
Knock
God.
on wood. I'm not sure what's going on there. I think there might have some technical difficulties. I know Rayson is finishing school and stuff. And
You know Rayson moved back?
yeah, he moved back. Back?
He's back here.
Oh, okay. So he finished school. I think he finished school.
Yeah, he finished school.
Yes.
Because Wes came here for my birthday. Thank you, Wes.
Your birthday was recently?
Yeah, man. I just turned 30 recently.
I missed out. Happy birthday, dog.
I keep it a secret, but I appreciate
TFTI.
it, man. There was not much to miss out on.
Man, you seen this tower?
Anyway, so Wes came here for my birthday. I worked on a Turtles car recently. So there's a secret collab episode coming up.
Oh.
And I vaguely remember them saying like they had an episode that was like unreleased. So apparently that's your episode.
Oh, I talked a lot of shit in that one too. I don't know.
That's okay. Did they do one with Limitless Alex yet?
I if they did,
Dude, that's another guy to have on the podcast.
Yeah.
That's another Bay Area legend, Limitless
Yes.
Alex. Yeah.
So, like I guess this might be an interesting topic if this comes out 2 weeks from now. We talk a lot about having shops stick around and being available for Corolla dudes to come to if shit doesn't work out or if we don't have time to build a car. Limitless used to be one of those shops that we can take a Corolla to and have a Corolla guy work on it, look into the issues, and really fix things. Such as Performance Options was the shop for us prior to us, some years ago. Limitless doesn't exist anymore for the public. Yeah, and he just recently had a big crash, but he's coming back though.
Shout out to you, Alex, and I look forward to your return.
Me too. Me too. Me too. Me too. And I hope come back with a better chassis, stronger chassis, and I hope Limitless just comes back, please. I'm kidding. You do your thing, dude. I know we all have, like, dude, like, so, like, it's like this is a thing. Like, we all, you have a business right now, and you're trying to make work. I had a business back in, like, my college days, and that was hard. That was hard, and I stopped because I was doing it out of mom and dad's garage, and that was still hard. Having the my very low overhead and my shit. That was hard, and that's why I have so much respect for you, Zio, doing your shit.
Appreciate it,
I
man.
have respect for Alex that he he did his thing. I'm very grateful that he had a better thing come along to continue doing his thing. Unfortunately, at not building Corollas anymore for us, but doing his own thing, which is good for him. But man, yeah, having your own business, that shit sucks. I did it. I only lasted like 2 years. Fuck. No. No. Too much bullshit.
We're actually almost up to our 3-hour mark.
What? Really? Wow.
Is there any final topics you wanted to touch on? Hopefully a positive topic.
I hope this is a two-parter, and I hope this is interesting for everybody. Because I'm like, I don't know. I was kind of drinking before this. Because my roommate. Has this been interesting for you?
Oh, dude, yeah. This has been great in learning
Oh, shit.
both of our ownership life cycles, especially because we started at similar times and because we're at similar ages.
Dude, you are way beyond me at this point. At least today in 2020. But I'm very humbled to be a part of this.
No, and then likewise, I appreciate you too, man. Before we wrap up this podcast, did you want to give any shout outs to anyone? Any words of wisdom for the newest group of Corolla owners, since you are actually the moderator of our group?
Stick around. People make fun of you. Take that as a sign of, acceptance, I guess. I think maybe a message to the guys that are around still. Old guard, I'd say now. I wouldn't say OG because I think actually wait, old guard is OG. Fuck. So the guys that have been around for maybe a little bit longer than us, I think acceptance of those that are new, I think is important and worthy of effort because we might become the next Triumph people. The Triumphs were very elitist, and look what happened to the Triumph crowd. The cars were so hard to work on because there's no support. Those guys are very elitist, in my opinion. I grew up with some of those guys. My uncle's roommates were Triumph guys, and their cars were never working. But they're old now. They're in their 40s, and their cars still don't work. I don't want our crowd to become like that. So I think it's because they didn't have the support that we currently do that we take for granted. And I hope the best for everybody when it comes to Corollas. And don't buy a Corolla if you don't have one yet. Corollas are garbage.
Well said. That's Mikeyee, the moderator of the NorCal
Dude,
886 owners group.
I'm not even moderator. Like, we have a team, by the way.
A team of
I
moderators.
don't make decisions by myself. If I don't make a decision, like, for something, or if a decision, like, something needs to be made, a decision needs to be made, it needs to be made by a unanimous decision from the whole moderator group. The admins, all the admins. I'm just the person that just started the group. We have old guard and OGs in the admin team that we're very transparent about when we make decisions. So it's just not just me. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you. See.
Yeah, thanks again for being on the podcast, Mike. And then we'll definitely have a part 2 for you.
What? This is a 2-parter already. Shit.
And then I look forward to that Roll of Life podcast episode, man. We haven't heard for those guys in a long ass time.
Dude, my podcast is over a year ago. All right.
Appreciate it, man.
Bye.